Hello, people. It's your boy Osman back again with another Rally Farm podcast. We're making a habit of this every single Monday. Manchester United are playing it every single time. They've let us down 2 out of 2 that we've had the Rally Farm podcast on the same day of Manchester United playing, and it's been nothing short of an absolute embarrassment. We will be getting to that very shortly. But as always, if you haven't already, get your comments in, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Very close to 1.3k, so hopefully we can achieve that very shortly. But like I said, get your comments in. I'm not putting those links in the chat, actually. I'm not going to lie, including my own. So we will shout them out a bit later on in the show. Obviously, you can see everyone's on the screen. Please do follow everyone on their social, etc., etc. But listen, we're going to get straight into it. First and foremost, let me introduce to you the panel. The regulars are all back. The Avengers somewhat will say, obviously Daniel and Kojo are not here, but pretty much everyone else that is normally here is in the building. First and foremost, Lawless, how you doing, my brother?
Very good, my friend. Very, very good. Ended the last year well and started this year well, so I'm feeling good. Feeling a bit tired, a bit hungover, but apart from that, I'm good, man.
Yeah, your voice sounds a bit rough. I'm not gonna lie, still.
Yeah.
But this is probably shouting, obviously, it is where it is, and then that 3-2 game a bit tense and that. But at least you're balling in. It must be nice. Anyways, moving on to another 3-point collector, last second and all that. But nevertheless, 3 points on the board. He's a bit far away, but he's a bit far away from us as well in the table. Kish, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very, very good. Part of Conte's army, Fine Wine FC. Well on that bandwagon for the time being up until we get battered in a couple of weeks. But yeah, so far so good. Can't complain.
Yeah. I mean, it must be nice again. It must be nice getting 3 points and all that. But listen, my fellow comrade for the week, dropping points as well. I'm sure I'm just clutching on straws here. We both know I am, but no, you didn't win. We didn't win. It is what it is. I mean, Wolves will probably beat you as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm just deflecting as much as I possibly can because it's going to be peak for you. Anyways, enough of the BS. Kale, thank you for coming through. How are you doing, my brother?
Oh, you know what? It was a bit down before 5:30, but you know what? I'm somewhat been rejuvenated. I mean, Lawless says he's. Oh, what was in that bottle, Lawless? I say. That's what I'm wondering. What's in that bottle you were drinking just a few moments ago? Is it water? Is it water?
Well, I'm saying.
I think it's Keyshawn's tears. That's what it is. Listen, I'm very deflected as much as I can today. It's going to be a long show for me, bro. It's going to be a long show. But listen, as always, shout out to everyone that tunes in. Big up to you, Nipper. Thank you for always supporting the channel. I appreciate you. And obviously, the love that you give on social media. You're an absolute OG. But listen, let's get straight to it. I'm going to cut the BS. I'm going to start. Normally, I host the show, but I've said to the guys post-show, I'm probably going to rant about 3 times on the show. But I'm just going to start with Manchester United. I'm sure the guys I'm sure the guys are going to enjoy it. But listen, I mean, where do I start? First and foremost, the selection. Fucking hell. How many times I've said Wan-Bissaka shouldn't be starting? I swear to God. Like, one thing I will say, I've got to take an L on Wan-Bissaka. I've been defending this guy endlessly. But honestly, I think a blind man can cross better than this guy. The guy's crossing ability is so shit. It's absolutely embarrassing that he plays for Manchester United, let alone starting for us. Week in, week out. To be fair, defensively, he was actually all right today. But going forward, they literally said, give this man the ball. He's not going to do shit with it. They gave him space time and time again. But listen, I'm not going to pigeonhole Wan-Bissaka because he was the least of our issues today. The midfield was so non-existent. It's unbelievable. But guess what? Ralph proceeds to pick the same team. I've seen a lot of people saying, has Oli gone? I mean, I might start asking the same question. People were saying, I know what Lawless has been tweeting people. What did you, I saw some tweet. It cracked me up. I think it was to Saeed. What did you say to Saeed?
I said that the Man United fans owe Oli an apology.
Yeah, I ain't going down that road. But listen, Ralph, to be fair, it is our first loss in about 8 games, to be honest. But it doesn't feel like that with the manner of the defeat because the defeat was absolutely embarrassing. Get dominated from start to finish. I mean, Wolves had the most shots they've ever done in the entirety of the season in the first half that they've done in the entire 90 minutes in any game this season. Wolves, if they could finish, would have been 3-0 at half-time. I know they didn't have clear-cut chances, but they battered us. To be quite frank, it was surprisingly Phil Jones over Varane, both phenomenal. Phil Jones in particular, don't know what that's about. But coming back to Manchester United, absolutely clueless. All of them. There's not one player apart from Jones and Varane and maybe Greenwood to an extent. He subs off Greenwood, and then after the game he says, "Oh yeah, it was a tactical sub." I'm fucking fuming. Greenwood was the only attacker who did anything on the pitch, and he subs him off for Cavani, who looked like a deer in headlights. Cavani, I've never seen the guy so lost in my life. The guy was coming to the ball. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know if he was coming or going. Ronaldo didn't get a single shot on target. I mean, people are going to blame Ronaldo and fine. I mean, Ronaldo's culpable as well. But what the fuck is he meant to do? He's got no chance. Jadon Sancho, one of his biggest fans, absolute dog shit performance today. Absolute dog shit. He had a chance in the first half. All he had to do was pass it Ronaldo, and Ronaldo scored. But he shoots, and bro, embarrassing. Then Rashford comes on, I know Bruno's Mississippi, but I don't care about Bruno. Just to top it off, Marcus Rashford. If he was putting food on the plate, the way he passes the ball, the kids would still be hungry. Because the guy could make a fucking basic pass through on goal, bro. Basic fucking pass. 250 grand a week, and you can't make that pass, bro. Are you serious? I make that every fucking week with my eyes closed and 5-a-side. The guy, what the fuck was he doing? It was such a simple pass. And again, this is the reason we lost. It was an absolute shit show from start to finish. Ralph Rangnick deserves a lot of criticism, and I ain't going to hold back because I think he's an absolute embarrassment that he keeps selecting the same fucking players that Ollie selected that were shit. McTominay and Matic do not work. Against Burnley, McTominay was brilliant, but as a pair, they were fucking shit. Matic was shit against Burnley. He was shit today. Cavani and Ronaldo were shit against Burnley, and lo and behold, they were shit today. Wan-Bissaka shit against Burnley, and lo and behold, shit today. So he's doing what Ali did. He's playing the shit players, no style of football, no fucking pressing. I got a bone after 30 minutes of all the pressing at Palace, and it's gone. Like, completely disappeared. Like, this guy pressed for 30 minutes against Palace, and that was it. Man said after that, allow it. No more pressing football for Manchester United. That's enough for 10 years. Back to the shit show that we are. We are fucking finished as a club. And the mad thing is, we still might get top 4 because we're fucking only 4 points off it. And I'm not going to say we've got a game in hand. I'm going to say 4 points off it. Because fuck the game in hand. Because we can't even beat Newcastle and Norwich convincingly. So who gives a fuck about a game in hand? If you can't beat Newcastle and their fans are bantering me, a.k.a. Kendall, saying, how the fuck did we lose these lot? And I can't say shit to her because how did we fucking not lose to Newcastle? And that's how embarrassing we are. So we're 4 points off top 4. If we get top 4 somehow, by grace of God, that is embarrassing for the rest of the teams that are blowers. But listen, it's not about them today. It's about Man United. Fucking pathetic. And I'm gonna leave it there because I could go on for ages. But it was absolutely pathetic. Phil Jones, Varane, only 2 players really. Greenwood, fair enough. But that actually did anything. Apart from that, fucking hell, boys. Enjoy, man. Enjoy. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what? I fully stand by my statement of Man United fans owe Ollie an apology, and the reason why
I ain't apologizing.
It's not to say that that they should look at Ollie and say, yeah, like he should be the man to manage Man United, but the way Man United fans were going in on him, and then rejoicing that they've got this Ralph Rangnick, the genius of European football and the father of Klopp and Tuchel, all of this stuff, rejoicing, like this guy's the savior. He picks the same players as Ollie, but guess what? The team are worse under Ralph Rangnick. I don't think I've ever seen Man United this bad. I mean, it's horrendous. Never under Ollie.
No, I don't agree with that.
This is
we lost 5-0 to Liverpool and fucking got battered by Leicester, got battered by Watford.
Yeah, but you know what?
Today. There's no denying that. But
you've had some shit results here and there, but consistently, you've just looked poor. Even the games that you haven't lost,
we've been poor all season, bro. Literally.
Yeah, you've looked consistently shit like under Ralph. And he's picked in the same players. He's persistent with his tactics. Like you all wanted Van der Beek played. He's not playing him. Ollie didn't play him. He's not playing him. He's doing the same thing, except he's playing this new system that don't work, and he's persistent with it. So, like Man United fans, like you have to take the biggest L of any fan base because of the way You guys thought this guy was gonna come in and he was like, yeah, we're getting top four. Everyone was like, yeah, top four is ours now. We got Ralph in, Ollie tax, blah blah blah. Yeah, you ain't getting top four. In fact, you ain't finishing above West Ham. I see that today. You're finishing above me. No, if
you ain't finishing above us. But listen, we can all be
say that with your chest after what you've seen.
We can all be reaction. You know, obviously that's completely fine, isn't it?
But it's not reaction. It's not one game, Usman. It's this Ralph's entire run.
4 games though. Like,
Rashford is shit. Sancho is shit. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka is shit. Like your players, you've got like 2 or 3 good players, yeah, in your team. Like and a load of mediocre garbage, yeah.
I disagree with that, to be honest.
Yeah,
Manchester United for me is something that's been like this for the last few years under Ollie and under Rangnick now. It's a team of individuals. It's very good players in a team, but as a collective unit, it's just never been there. It's always been the case. When Ollie first was in charge, it was Rashford that was getting Ollie out of trouble a lot of the times in that first season. Then Bruno Fernandes was brought into the team setup, and he did the same thing for a season and a half, 18 months. Ronaldo now has been brought in, and I guess again, Ronaldo has been the person that's been the saviour. But it's come to that point now where you can't rely, as good as he is, you can't rely on a 36-year-old to get you out of danger every single game. And the rest of the players are just not doing the things that they have done in the last few years, which is individual brilliance. You've had the odd game or two where they've done it, but apart from that, it's not happening. Rangnick, you can say what you want. Look, there's a reason why he's only got the job for 6 months and not a 3-4 year contract. We all knew that, right? He's a bit like Bielsa, where he's got a huge repertoire of managers that have got a huge praise for him, but he will never be that trophy winner. He'll never be. If he was that good, he'd be at Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, these sort of clubs. He would have definitely been at Bayern Munich, because if he'd been that, successful in Germany. So let's be honest, United are getting from him what, in a sense, was expected, apart from the fact that you're not getting that huge bounce that you got under Ollie for 6 months to a year. That's not happening, and the wheels have come off massively quicker than it usually happens. Look, your problem with United is
this notion that the wheel. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
but I understand, right? Why I'm pissed off with Ralph as well. I'm not denying that, and I understand what both of you are saying. But I think you're being harsh as well, because like, if you're judging Man United on the season, then I understand your points, like Man United shit, etc. I get all that. Then you could go through the players, etc. But to say the wheels have come off with Ralph, and I don't know if people have been serious, if they're memeing or whatever it may be, but
I don't think the wheels ever came on.
But he's been here for 4 games. Like, since when has that now? I didn't hear it, but since when has that now been the fucking measuring stick to measure managers, or what they only get 4 games?
No, because
when
that's the first game we've lost, yeah. And the issue for me personally, yeah, we've been shit under Rangnick. I'm not going to sit here and deny it. I'm not saying that. Yeah. We've been shit. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it, okay? Because we haven't been good enough. But the issue isn't the new manager bounce, because technically we got results on the fucking Carrick as well. But the point is, their players are clueless. They don't know what the system. They can't play the system, basically. The issue with Rangnick is he's being stubborn with the system, bro. He has to fucking change the system, because the players haven't got a clue how to play, and he hasn't got time. He's had 2 days in between games to implement a system that the players are fucking lost, bro. Like, they don't have a clue how to play. And again, I'm not saying this is an excuse, but you've got to understand, if he's trying to embed a system into players within 1 training session a week, he's not going to work. And that's on him to realize it's not going to work. He's got to scrap it and just try and get results until end of the season, because that kid there, he's only here for 6 months anyway, so it's not about him instilling the philosophy, because it's irrelevant if we get a new manager. So for me, he's got to be smart, and he's got to fucking stop being stubborn and trying to fucking give these players a understanding of his philosophy, because they're not going to get it. They've got a low IQ, man. Like, loads of them have a high IQ. Go on, Kill.
Where does this new system come from? From what I understand about Rangnick, is he's played this system throughout his entire tenure. When he was at Leipzig, when he was at was it Hoffenheim, and then when he went to
yeah, he's not changed.
when he went to Lokomotiv Moscow. So where is this notion that he's been this adaptable manager coming from? I don't think he is adaptable. I think
exact same as Conte. Conte
That's
plays
a fair point. Maybe that's true.
But the simple
That's
fact
a
of the
fair
matter,
point.
the simple fact of the matter is these players aren't going to get it. And the problem going forward is whether or not, if he does go, or when he does go up top, is the type of manager that he brings in. If it's a manager that completely goes against his philosophy, then Manchester United are in the mud. Because there's going to be two different ideas, two different philosophies, and they're going to be butting heads, and we don't know. You're going to have no identity up until one of them goes, either i.e. Ragnick or whoever the new manager is, which I think is going to be Pochettino.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think what Kishad is right about there being a team of individuals, and I said this before, and I think that's been the problem, is signing individual players without a real plan or an identity to fit a certain system. And I'm not blaming, obviously, Ragnick, he didn't sign the players, but you know what I mean, signing Ronaldo because you don't want him to go to Man City, and signing Sancho just because they needed to give Man City, Man United players a marquee signing, and things like that. And this is the thing, Usman, when it comes to when we're talking about Man United, where you're going to finish this season, if you're going to finish above us or Spurs, whatever, these issues can't be addressed in a January transfer window. They can't be addressed with a few training sessions. Like the players there, like you need a massive overhaul in this team. And the problem is, it does look like the manager is stubborn and not willing to adapt. And already players are starting to question him. You know what I mean? Like whether they should, like Luke Shaw is coming out and questioning the manager and the system and not understanding it.
I don't think he was questioning the manager. I think he was. I mean, obviously, the interpretation might be different. I think he was questioning the dressing room.
The one thing that really frustrates me, though, Osman, and Lawless, you can probably comment on this as well, is he's persistent on playing Sancho and Rashford when it's very, very crystal clear that there's just no press within them, in any of them. They are flair players. When you give the ball to them, you looked at Sancho against Burnley, he was doing bits on some of the occasions. But when it comes to actually pressing, it's non-existent. So the one player that you've got in your squad, whether you like him or not, or whether he has the same quality as them two or not, in Lingard, that's proven that he presses.
I've said Lingard should be starting.
I don't understand. This is now, Ollie said the same thing to Lingard. Why is it that none of these managers want to let him go, but then don't even want to use him? It's the same with Donny van der Beek. If he's come out with that interview and said, I've told him he's not leaving, and I'm going to give him an opportunity, but then you don't even play him in the setup, that's on the manager. That is all on the manager. That's got nothing to do with the players. Because imagine you as a player listening to that, thinking that I'm not going, my manager's got faith in me, and you're not even giving the guy a kick. It's ridiculous. And someone like Lingard must be thinking, these Sancho and Rashford, what are they doing that I can't do at the moment, if not more? I don't understand. The only thing I can think of is the fact that they are players, marquee players, that have to play because they're the ones that put the bombs on the seats.
But he has dropped Rashford, and that was Rashford.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Surely as fans, you want wins. You don't want this man Sancho 90 million or 75 million is on the pitch. You need someone who's going to be able to play with that intensity that Rangnick requires. So I'm really confused, to be honest.
How is Lingard not getting on at the moment over Sancho or Rashford on form? Because he would fit. I think he would fit that system, like you said, more than like he's high energy, work rate, like I said, ability to press. He's ideal. But
I think
where does he play though? I feel like he's not playing on the wing, is he?
He would play on the wing though.
He can. He played on the wing for us at times. He played either behind the striker, or sometimes he played on the left.
That's where he was most effective, and I imagine that's where he's got his scout reports from when he was at his time at West Ham. I feel like with Sancho is because he persists with Sancho, and he persists with playing Sancho on the wrong side of the wing. He's a right midfielder. He's playing him left. He's playing central. He does anywhere but right with Sancho, but. He knows Sancho's ability because he's watched him when he's at time at Dortmund. So that's why Sancho's playing. Rashford, I don't know with Rashford, man. I feel like maybe a sports psychologist is needed because the player that he was before the injury to the player that he is now is apples and oranges, man. And to be fair to him, that injury is one, it was undiagnosed by Manchester and wrongly diagnosed by Manchester United doctors. So that's going to affect him. But, bruh, that pass was horrible.
Oh yeah.
Those are the type of decisions. Those are the type of plays that
it was harder for him to do the pass that he did.
I think so too.
It was ridiculous.
Bro.
Like,
I have
no idea.
but this is the thing, though. Like that Rashford pass epitomes Manchester United Football Club for the last 2 years. That is basically how we play. Obviously, you lot don't watch every 9 minutes. I mean, I wouldn't watch Man United if I wasn't a Man United fan, basically. But it was a bit that shit. But that pass is basically Man United under every single manager we've had in the last whatever how many years you want to call it. We just constantly do that. We make the basics look hard every single game. The bare basic. We can't do the basic every game. Like Wan-Bissaka, again, I don't want to use him as an example because he was in the real, like he was in the reason we lost basically all the shit. I mean, he's a part of it, but not the main culprit. But like, just can't do the basics. Like, crossing the ball into the box, like 1 in fucking 50 crosses can't be good. Like Rashford constantly passing the ball away cheaply. Bruno, to be fair, he looked all right. I mean, he missed the sitter, but I don't want to mention that because we didn't deserve anything from the game anyway. So I don't really care too much about him missing that chance. It would have been another snatch and grab. But to come back to what you said regarding Lingard, I think he's not playing him because he wants to leave. He's done the same with Martial. But he hasn't done it with Cavani, though. So I just think it completely contradicts his standpoint because Cavani's leaving definitely at the end of the season. And then you got a player like Van der Beek, right? And this is why I'm getting fucking pissed because he preaches control. Ranić, right? He's come in and I've done research on him because I'm going to be honest, I didn't know a lot about him. Obviously, I had to do my research. And obviously, the comments about the new manager bounce, etc. I was happy Ollie's gone. I'm not going to apologise because Ollie was there for 3 years, spent 500 million. We lost 5 fucking nil to Liverpool. We'll never forget that for the rest of our life. And that was under Ollie. So it is where it is. People might say we lost 6-1 under Fergie against Man City. Of course, that is an L as well. But Fergie gives a lot of happiness. So it's not the same. But anyways, Van der Beek, right, is a top quality player. Ranić preaches control. Oh, we need control of the game. We need this. I was like lapping this up, thinking, oh my God, finally a manager that focuses on controlling games, etc. We saw it against Crystal Palace. Since then, he's completely fucking bewildered me with his team selection. No Van der Beek. He played Van der Beek with Mata against Young Boys in a dead rubber game, and he had Mata playing alongside him. He set him up to fail. Van der Beek failed in that game, and he hasn't played him since. So for me, the whole Van der Beek admission, Ranić has the whole responsibility. Ollie obviously didn't have, people will say, well, if Ollie and Ranić are both not playing, Carrick didn't play him, maybe he's the player. I understand that could be the case, but I don't give a shit what people think if that's the case, because you can't tell me Fred's a fucking good player because Steve managers picked him, because he's fucking not. He's good at winning the ball back, but on the ball, he's shit. So
he was one of the players actually. It looked like he was actually starting to maybe improve under Ranić.
He looked alright against Palace, to be fair to him. But yeah, the point I'm making is that Ranić, he has himself to blame. He's not picking the right players. I mean, he emphasizes on fullbacks giving width, and then he picks Wan-Bissaka. I mean, it completely contradicts his philosophy. If you want to have fullbacks to give you width, you pick Delo. If you want to control games, you pick Van der Beek, not Matic or McTominay. So stick to what your philosophy is, or don't do it. Simple as that.
Do you know what? This for me only strengthens Paul Pogba's situation, because you look at Manchester United.
Pogba was the problem.
Yeah.
Apparently,
and you know, this is what I mean. You look at Manchester
He's got to
United.
fight to get into this midfield. Apparently, well done, lads.
No, but what I'm saying is, you look at Manchester United's current situation. You look at the dip in form. It goes literally as the moment that he became an absentee. The results. I would love to know the results post Pogba since he's been injured, because I guarantee you there's been a huge drop since he's been out of the team, and his contract goes. And I think beforehand, United were probably willing to let him go. But the more I see it now, and if you're not going to sign someone with that creativity in central midfield, because that's what Pogba does, then you are going to have to pay him. You're going to have to pay him.
But if Pogba stays, I lose all respect for him, to be honest. I don't care if that goes against my Man United fucking fandom. But that's what I mean. If he stays at this shit show,
I get that. He needs to go because he's 28. But if you're Manchester United, you literally can't afford to lose him now. He is the one that makes the midfield tick. Without him, I don't see where the chances are coming from. I don't see where the hold in that midfield. I don't see where the movement, the forward-thinking passes are coming from. Because if you're going to let Van der Beek go as well, which it looks like, then you can't. There's no way in hell you can let both Pogba and him go, because he's definitely going to go. I think there's no two ways
I feel like this whole
who do you what that leaves you in such a bad position. You have who do you even go for if you let them two go?
Yuri Tielemans. I think that's the smart. I think Yuri Tielemans is probably the smart option. I'm not saying he's anywhere close to the ability that Pogba has, but he does lessen the blow just a bit. But I feel like United need to get away from this because if you look at it from an outside perspective, it looks like it's a Galactical project, and it's a Galactical project that's failed. You got Paul Pogba in. I don't think he's failed per se. I think he's a B minus, honestly, and I think that's his career at Manchester United. It's not been superb, but it's not been as bad as people want to proclaim. Ronaldo's come back and it hasn't helped, even though he has scored goals. Bruno Fernandes started off fantastically this season. He's absolutely been shocking, absolutely shocking. And you do not want to mention the miss, but that miss was bad. From that position,
it was enough. The reason I don't want to mention it is because I don't think we deserve.
I don't think he deserved it.
We did deserve. He has to score. He
has to score. He's got two options. He's got left or right.
If you watch the replay back, he's already celebrated as soon as he's hit it. He starts to run off to celebrate.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh,
then he clocks his hit the bar and he's like, oh.
To be fair to him, he hadn't been on the pitch long. Do you know what I mean? And to get to the point where you're warmed up.
Yes and no. It's Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes puts that away last season. Irrespective of whether he started the match or come off the bench, he has to score that. I think he has to score.
I feel like the Greenwood, not passing to Ronaldo I feel like that's slightly worse because Ronaldo's open in the box, man.
That was Sancho.
Is it Sancho?
Yeah.
Oh, did he pass to Greenwood?
Yeah, Greenwood passed it. Sancho didn't pass it.
Yeah, exactly. And a few players around him, and you had Ronaldo, one of the best finishers in world football, wide open on the left. It's so easy. Simple pass, Ronaldo. That's in the back of the net. That is shocking decision making.
It's poor.
But yeah, I kind of feel like that's worse. Sorry, KO, I just wanted to add that in. But yeah.
Fair play, man. But no, I feel like they need to get away from this. They need to start buying smart. And I feel like once Rangnick goes upstairs, it may start to happen. But once again, if you get a manager like Pochettino who will butt heads with him, I feel like it's going to be just another giant mess. And
if he carries on like this, KO, if performances continue and carry on and it's not really moving, do you put him upstairs or do you think?
No, that's the thing though. You don't absolutely. They didn't bring Rangnick in for this 6 months. This 6 months was essentially weather the storm. I think they brought him in because they have nobody of any football intelligence upstairs. So they bring him in. That's where the intelligence comes in. That's where they decide who they're going to go for. They've scouted a striker from Argentina. I'm not sure if it's what Alvarez, and from what I've seen in terms of YouTube clips, he looks like a tidy player. Whether or not he will adapt to the Premier League, you never know. But once again, I feel like the South American district has been severely underscouted from Premier League sides in recent years. But on that, so that's a shrewd signing. So it all depends on.
Could be a Javier Hernandez, Chicharito.
I think he could be an Aguero.
It can't be fucking worse than what we've got.
Say that, but West Ham, we actually went a bit mad on South American players at some point.
Tevez, look at Tevez.
Let's not talk about illegal transfers. Yeah, let's not talk about
Allegedly.
Anyways, let's move away from United because I think I've vented enough.
No, can I say one thing though? Actually, one last thing on Rangnick. On what the back of what Kale was saying, I think this January transfer window is his job interview. That should be how it's seen because
that's a fair point.
If he signs some good players and you can say, geez, he's found some good players, then you can say, yeah, he's fit for the job. If he spends a bit of money and none of these players work out in the trash, then you should really consider okay, do we want to have this guy responsible for a big summer transfer budget? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Just to add to that, if he does flop as a manager, I still want him to go up top. I'm just going to make that very clear because the reason I was overly happy initially was obviously because Ollie's got sacked, but secondly because I felt, as Kale said, he'd weathered the storm. I thought he'd stay. I thought he'd stabilise it. We'll get top four, and I still think we're capable of getting top four. Although at the moment, all things suggest that we're not going to get top four given the level of performances. But I still want him to go up top because that is the main reason I got happy because our transfer policy, since as long as I can remember, has had no real a plan or structure or anything, and Ranić has got a track record of doing that. So this isn't me saying I don't want him to be consultant, because that would be a mistake on our part, which is probably going to happen because we always make mistakes. So yeah, for me personally, I think it would be poor if we did do that. But anyways, I want to talk about Liverpool and Chelsea. So obviously this was a very important game in the title. Obviously we'll get into that very shortly. But I just want to say something first and foremost, right? It's a bit of an open question as well as a statement from my part. So I'm throwing it out there, but this is something what I think. So Klopp's been here for 7 seasons now, off the back of this season, yeah? Off the back of the Chelsea draw, it seems, yeah, I know, okay, it's mad. But yeah, I know, I'm going to break it down to you. So off the back of this Chelsea draw, again, this might come back to bite me in the ass because it's not factual. But off the back of the Chelsea draw, it looks like he's not going to win the title. It looks like City going to win it. Bar a City capitulation, which is potentially, it can happen. But anyways, the point I want to make is, and I'm going to throw it out to you, in 7 seasons, all Klopp has achieved is 1 Premier League title and a Champions League. And he gets fucking lauded as the best manager since sliced bread. He's better than Pep. He's better than X, Y, and Z. Tuchel's almost achieved what he's done in half a fucking season. And for me personally, right, although I like Klopp and I rate him, I think he kind of gets away with a lot because he smiles and fist pumps the crowd. I think he's been a massive fucking flop at Liverpool, to be quite frankly honest with you. Because for me, 7 seasons at a club like Liverpool, okay, granted, he brought them up from a very dark place, but 7 seasons, all you've got to show for it is a league title and a Champions League. Okay, the league was very influential in Liverpool. History, yada, 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 I understand that. But 7 seasons, you've only got 2 trophies to show for it. I mean, for me personally, if he doesn't win anything this season, I mean, he should be in trouble. I don't know why he doesn't get any question marks against his name. He didn't retain his title. One of the worst retentions of a title in my lifetime. Absolute embarrassment of trying to retain the title. I mean, also just to add to this, I want to say that the reason I think Klopp's somewhat needs to hold a bit more accountability and a bit more criticism, and why I think he's somewhat of a flop, is because this is your words, Liverpool fans. Before you get on to me, you got the best winger in the world, i.e. Salah. I mean, there's no arguing that at the moment. You got the best right back in the world, your words, not mine. You got the best DM in the world in Fabinho. You got the best centre back in the world in Van Dijk. Matip's one of the best centre backs in the league as well. Your words, not mine. Robertson's the best left back in the world. Again, your words, not mine. Alisson's the best goalkeeper in the world. And in 7 years, okay, he's not had him for 7 years. That's fair enough. You'll say that, but he's had him for the best part of 4 years, and he's won 1 fucking title and 1 Champions League in 4 years. And people say, "Oh, Pep's bought the league, etc." It doesn't. Okay, it matters how much money Pep spends, but why does it matter if you've got the best players in 6 of the best players in the world in 11 positions? So surely Pep should be closer to the top. Not Pep, sorry. Klopp should be way closer to the top than he currently is, because I think he's massively underachieving. And this season, he's completely flopped the season. If they don't win a major trophy, which doesn't look like it's going to be the league, I think he deserves a lot of criticism, which he isn't getting at the moment, because he fist pumps, blames the wind, and blames everything apart from his own fucking team. And for me, he's been an absolute shit show. All he's done is bitch and moan the entire season, and he's done fuck all else. So that is my question to the panel. What are your thoughts on that? Am I being a bit overboard? Am I being United biased? What are your thoughts?
I think you're being very, very biased there with your Manchester United hat on. I think, look, yes, you have valid points in terms of winning one Premier League and a Champions League with the squad that he's had in recent years is not sufficient. But you've got to base other factors around it, and the key factor is Pep Guardiola, right? If it wasn't for Pep Guardiola, he would probably have 2 Premier League titles. To have a season where you have 97 points or 98 points and still not to be able to achieve a league title win is ridiculous. In past seasons before Pep arrived in the Premier League, 90 points or subpar 90 or just below 90 was sufficient to win the Premier League. That is no longer the case. You need probably mid 90 points plus to win the Premier League title, which was literally unheard of. That hardly happened under the Fergie era as well. It was only a handful of occasions that happened. He has raised the bar to such an extent that on normal seasons in previous Premier League years, the league title right now would literally be a point or 2 away from each other. You look at that game, Chelsea versus Liverpool, it's probably the best game I've seen all season. That first half was relentless. You could see the threat that both sides posed. that goes down to the managers and the setup that they've built within those teams, albeit obviously Klopp's had a lot longer to do so. So you have to give him credit. Also with Pep Guardiola,
what are we giving him credit for? Sorry, what are we giving him credit for?
No, the fact that he has built this squad based on
I give him
sales, generation from his own sales.
I give him credit for that. What he said. Listen, I'm not saying that he hasn't done a good thing. Okay, maybe flop. It might be a bit harsh, but fuck, I've said it now. But one thing I will say is he doesn't get enough criticism because he smiles and fist bumps the crowd.
The only criticism I will
why is
say
he not getting more criticism for
this season? What I'm saying is this season, if he doesn't win anything and say they come second in the league or even third in the league, that's a failure. 100%. That's a failure. And our usual panel kind of the Liverpool expertise, Hussam, has also said that if Liverpool do not win anything this season, i.e. the Champions League or the league, I don't think a League Cup and FA Cup for me is sufficient for Liverpool because Liverpool are this big dominant team.
Not winning the League Cup anyways because Arsenal.
Yeah. So you know that sort of thing. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if they do not win the league or the Champions League this season, for me, that is a failure for Liverpool Football Club because this is all the talk. This is like you said. I agree with everything that you said. That 4 or 5 of their players have been touted as the best players in their own positions in the world. So you can't come out with that kind of backing without the results of the 2 biggest trophies, which is your league and the Champions League. If they don't do that, then I agree it's a failure. But for us to say things like it's the worst defense of a title, I think you're.
It was the worst defense of a title.
No.
It was the worst defense of a title.
There's a lot more. There's at least 2 or 3 by Chelsea.
Okay, it wasn't the worst, but
it was one of. It's up there.
It's up there. It wasn't.
Given the caliber of players that they had at their disposal, come on, Cage.
Chelsea had a high caliber of players. Manchester United won the league before.
I know, but they didn't keep their manager, did they? Chelsea.
No, but that's not the point. If you base it on the set.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Not the worst, but one.
So, but yeah, I agree. It has been, in terms of people talk about the dominance. That's all BS. Like there was no such thing as dominance. They won Champions League one season. They won the league the next season. People that came out with things last season on tweets where end of an era, it wasn't even close. I've had shits longer than that era, to be honest. So let's not get this mistaken. Yeah. So that part.
Lola, just carry on. I'll be back in 5. My dad's just calling me.
That part for me is all just a lie. But for me, he's done a fantastic job. If you look at the first lineup, he had players like Jay Spearing playing at fullback. He had Balotelli, he had Ricky Lambert, he had Daniel Sturridge, he Fabio Borini. He had these sort of players. They were celebrating draws against West Brom away. They've come very, very far.
They also had some good players, some great players.
Yeah, he has had some great players. Don't get me wrong.
Like when he came in, you know what I mean.
Look at his first team. If you look at the first team he ever had to now, he's been very, very astute. The Coutinho money is something that me as a Tottenham fan, with how we absolutely shat all over Bale's money, I can only be envious of, because the way they spent that money was goalkeeper, centre-back, bam, League One, and Mane with that money, League One. So I can only praise that. But in terms of has he underachieved since he's had this team? Yes, you could definitely say that, because on a front of 11, does he have a team that's probably on par with the best in any other Premier Leagues? Yes, if you base it off what everyone said. And does he have a team that should be challenging and be closer to Pep's teams? Yes. So on that regard, then yes, I can agree with that. Not a failure, but for me, should have done more.
And there seems to be like a problem, like so when there's an injury and being able to adapt to these different situations. And I think a big problem is because I know what you were just saying about how they spent Coutinho money in players that he brought in. Yeah, and he's done well with these players. But I think there's a big problem with how he's been able to build a squad. And I think part of this does come from Klopp, because if it was an FSG just not giving him money, like surely he comes out and questions it, or even it's more behind the scenes and puts more pressure and says, we need money. Because when you've won the Champions League, you've won the Premier League, back to back, there should be money there to say, okay, let's strengthen our weakest positions, let's build some squad depth, let's really improve the side and go for it. But I feel like he's got this thing of like, okay, I don't want to do what Man City do, and I don't want to manage unhappy players and worry about having this great player on the bench. And I trust these
I
players.
think he has a go at owners, though, Lawrence. If you look back at his Dortmund days, he saw a Champions League final team be absolutely capitulated. Hummels went, Goetze went, and his best striker, Lewandowski, went. Royce, they probably would have let go if it wasn't for Royce wanting to stay himself. So he's experienced this, and even at them times under the Dortmund ownership, he never once complained. I just don't think he's one of the... It's weird because he actually complains over every bloody other thing in the world apart from the ownership, because realistically, if you remember when Liverpool won the Champions League or the league, the owners W. Henry came out with an interview saying, we will compete, we will make big money signings, we will show that we're not resting on our laurels. And then they've gone back down to, don't get me wrong, Jota's a good signing, but the 30-40 million pound range seems to be their kind of limit, which, to be honest, if you're looking at a player that will fit into the first 11, realistically, for that kind of money these days, it's going to be a risk like a Jota, which has worked out, but it's literally bananas. Apparently there's rumours that they might go for Rafinha from Liverpool, but even that is like, you don't know. It could be a great.
And look at the other players they're linked with. Look at from West Ham, right? They're not linked with Declan Rice. They're linked with Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen's been very good. But if you're talking about Jared Bowen being the guy that's going to help Liverpool close the gap on Man City over a season, that's not the slight. That's not the sign.
Is Jared Bowen going to be the guy that could potentially drop Salah or Mane? No, it's not going to happen. So realistically, you'd be like, well, then what's the point? Because I'm sure West Ham will probably charge about 40-50 million for him anyway.
Well, 60 million apparently is what we've put on it.
Well, then what's the point in that? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
This is the problem where they've got
those things though with Klopp though, which has been a hindrance, especially as a guy that knows what American owners are actually really like when it comes to being stingy. But he's bought in Salah, he's bought in Mane. And yes, he did spend big with Van Dijk, and he did spend big with Alisson, but that's completely separate. So if you look at his model throughout the years that he's been there, he's spent small and he's got big results out of them. I think Andy Robertson, which they do say he's the best left back in the league, I think that's is debatable. Don't get twisted. I think he's definitely up there. But I think he spent like 10-15 million on him. There you go, 8 million, and he's got an extreme amount of ability out of him. So he's been known by this board as a guy that will just completely revitalize and improve these players that are underdogs. Really, Salah was underdog. I don't think anybody here would really tell us that Salah would become the player that he became at Liverpool when he was at Roma and when he was at Chelsea. I didn't believe. I didn't honestly. I didn't know who Mohamed Salah was at Roma, and he's become one of the best, if not the best player in the world right now. Sadio Mane obviously had a history at Southampton, but he's come on leaps and bounds. Diego Jota, history at Wolves, but he's come on leaps and bounds as well. Firmino's kind of taken a nosedive, but that's because of Firmino. That's not because of Klopp at all. Divock Origi is this amazing wonder super sub. So he has a history of getting the best out of players on a cheap budget. And with American owners, they are not going to budge a second. And if you look at it, the board have been an absolute joke, because they can come out like Kroenke did. We're going to spend big. We're going to be competing with teams like Bayern Munich in a few years' time. They can say all that nonsense, but if they don't back it up with the financials, then it means absolutely nothing. And to a degree, I agree that Klopp hasn't achieved what he could achieve with the squad. I think, i.e., more Champions Leagues, more league titles. And it was harsh that he got 97 points and didn't win the league title, because like you said before, in any other season, it works. But if you don't get the backing of the board, when Manchester City are spending £50 million on Ferran Torres and then selling him back to Barcelona for £50 million, you're not going to be able to compete with that.
And this is football. No, the thing is with that KO as well, because I see comment Raj said about that. Liverpool honestly didn't have the same money as other teams. All they have to do is spend the money that Liverpool were generating. They haven't done that. We talk about the Coutinho sale and how they spent that. They've spent from a sale. But when we talk about prize money and TV rights revenues, merchandise, season tickets, all of this money that they generate, then there's nowhere near that they're spending that money. I know wages and things are considered, but they're making like hundreds, like well over 100 mil a season, probably 200 mil a season, you could say. Like I'm just throwing it out there because
you know what the worst thing is now. It's not. Don't get me wrong. It's nowhere near like the Tottenham scale, but they're now getting to the stage where it's becoming an aging squad. Look, Salah is 29. I have no doubt in my mind that Salah could be at the top level to 34, 35. But realistically, you're gonna have to pay him 400-500 grand a week. I don't care what people say. You're gonna have to pay him that to get him to stay. And maybe Mane is also 29, 30, I believe. He's coming towards that. Van Dijk has just signed a new contract, but he's 29 as well. Matip is coming towards that age. Henderson is 28, 29. Milner's about 35, 36. There's not a huge amount of players, apart from maybe you could say Jota, that scale of age, where you think, okay, they're still going to be around for quite a few years now at the top level. So for me, it's going to come to a head in the next 2-3 seasons. It's going to come to a head where what do you then do? Because to replace the likes of Salah and Mane or one or the other, you will need big bucks to replace them.
They're going to have to sell those players.
Yeah, and sell now, in my opinion. This is the thing with Salah. People might think I'm ridiculous for saying this, but they might, to actually get back to that stage again, they might have to sell a Salah. They might have to, because if he doesn't sign the contract, say if they give him 400 grand a week and he doesn't sign it and he's offered even further funds elsewhere, then you've got to cut your losses. And he probably still will be worth about 80 to 100 million, even though he's only got a year and a half on his contract.
Yeah, big. It's mad. Like I said, if they're not winning the trophies, these players are going to want to look to leave. And like you said, it sounds crazy what you're saying, selling Salah, but if they get big money for him, that they can invest elsewhere in the team. Jota can bang goals. They sign another player who could be find these gems that can bang some goals, invest in the midfield. That could be that difference maker. But it's mad.
Salah's got at least a couple of years left in him, though. Are you saying that this is selling soon, or?
No, what we're saying is he might. The thing is with Liverpool at the moment is, I agree. I think he's in such good shape and he looks after himself clearly that he could be at the top for at least another 3-4 years, in my opinion. However, if he then doesn't sign a new contract at say 400k and they're offered 80 to 100 million because he's got a year and a half left on his contract, they might have to do that, because with the Coutinho money, it's proven with Liverpool that unfortunately the 30-40 million pound signings is not what it's going to take to challenge it longer term. So you might have to just let go of your biggest asset.
You can see a Real Madrid or a PSG or Juventus coming in for Salah for sure and turning his head. Like,
PSG in particular, because if Mbappe is leaving at the end of the season, and you've got someone like Salah with a year left on his contract.
Yeah, but they got Messi there, and he plays in the same position, doesn't he?
No, but what I'm saying is they PSG want that Galacticos. If you've got Neymar and you've got Messi, there's one place for Neymar.
But why would Salah got PSG this early in his career? I mean, I know it's not early.
I don't see money.
I feel like
and Champions League.
In terms of legacy, Salah's got it, man. Yeah, but go PSG and win potentially win the Champions League.
I think that'd be a stupid.
I mean, to play with Messi, it's like playing with Ronaldo. Why do you think Lingard stayed? One of the reasons Lingard stayed was because he wanted to be.
Why would Salah go PSG? I think he's got at least minimum 3 years left at Liverpool.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they're not winning anything, if they're not achieving anything anymore, then he's stagnating. Where he can go somewhere and potentially kick on and win more and play with better players and progress. Like, if he's not progressive, there's no progression. Why is he going to spin his wheels at Liverpool just because they won something a few years ago?
I actually think Barcelona, I don't know how they've got this loan and whatever, forget that, but Barcelona would actually be a really good move for potential, because he could take over the burden that Messi left. He could be that spot.
They can't even register for Antares case. I
know they can't. But what I'm saying is, the owner's been talking the talk. The owner's been talking the talk.
Yeah, but they can't even they allow Barcelona, man. They can't afford anyone. But listen, speaking of wanting to leave, this leads you on nice. I don't know if you've discussed it in my absence. I do apologize. My dad needed help, and like I said, he's got COVID, so I just had to quickly sort it out. But Lukaku. Where do I start? I mean, apparently there's a myth that I've got an agenda against Lukaku, so I might as well just ride this wave because he's completely played his hand. Let me just make it very clear before we get into it. I know Kish thinks I've got an agenda, which is completely fine. But let me make it very clear, yeah. I've never disliked Lukaku. Like I said, when he left Man United to Inter Milan, he's spoken very glowing at Manchester United Football Club. He's always had nice things to say, and I've never said anything bad about the guy in that sense. Where my sort of agenda arises from, at Manchester United, I was not happy with Lukaku because of many different facets. But I always credited that down to the fact that we didn't play to his strengths. Okay, which is fair enough. We didn't. As simple as that. That's why he didn't. He wasn't the whatever. He wasn't amazing at us. He was good. But anyways, towards the end of his United career, he started to act like an absolute bitch, to be quite frankly honest with you. I'm not going to mince my words. He was starting to leak all the confidential information, not normal information, like leaking the squad. He was doing that as well. But confidential information, obviously people were talking about how Lukaku's overweight at Man United. This guy's there leaking Luke Shaw's stats about his running, his fitness, etc. He's leaking loads of confidential information about Manchester United just for the betterment of himself. And it was proven that it was true. So this isn't speculation. It's true. He then goes to Inter Milan and then eventually gets his move to Chelsea. It was quite evident he didn't want to leave Inter Milan they had financial troubles. He had to leave. It is what it is. He goes to Chelsea, right? He's been injured for God knows how long, and he's had COVID. So he's probably been available for, let's say, 4 months at our push. He's only been available for 4 months. This guy's been available for the club for 4 months, and he's come in on £100 million price tag, and he's got the absolute audacity to question the manager's intentions, his philosophy, his tactics. Oh, you're not playing to my strengths. I'm fucking sick and tired of him moaning about everybody else around him apart from himself. Take some accountability for your dead performances and also learn to adjust your game so you're not so one-dimensional as a striker. Because all the great world-class strikers where he thinks he is, he's not world-class. He's never been world-class. All the world-class strikers have more to their game than just being a flat trap bully or whatever it may be. He's a talented striker. There's no denying that. The stats back here up. But you can't sit here and tell me after 4 months of being at a club where they spent 100 million on you that you have any leg to stand on to be questioning the manager on his philosophy. I think that's absolutely embarrassing, and it is completely intoxicates the dressing room because it might start to sow the seed of doubt into other players' heads who are potentially getting faded by the manager, and then it becomes very toxic in the dressing room very quickly. We know what the modern day footballers are. They need any excuse to get a get out free jail card. They're a lot of them in this day and age, they're absolute waste men. They look for any excuse to get out and blame the manager. We've seen that time and time again, and he's giving people the opportunity to do that. So that's my thoughts on Lukaku. The floor is open. Whoever wants to give their thoughts next, it's up to you guys. What are your thoughts on the Lukaku situation?
I think you're right, man. I think, and look, I was one of the people. I was like, used to say to you, yeah, I think you've got a bit of an agenda, and I think he was, he's a bit harshly treated by the Man United fans, but like the way he's acted, man, like you said, to be there for 4 months and he's come out. He's not just thrown the manager on the bus; he threw the whole club under the bus. He's took a massive shit on Chelsea, and I can't see there's a way back. I know Kish said that he's going to talk about a little bit more that they've sorted things out behind the scenes, but the relationship with the fans has been severely damaged. And yes, if he goes on a massive scoring run, he can repair that. But he drops a poor performance. He's that guy now, and he's going to be that scapegoat. And it's going to be very difficult for him being there. And I don't know how other players feel, but to book your own interview, your agent don't even know about it. And you're coming out and talking about how, like if you could be at dinner, you still would be there. Basically trying to sort out your own transfer, trying to get in there to come and buy you, which is not going to happen. And now you're supposed to find a way back from that. It's not good enough. The guy needs to look at himself. You're coming into this team that's just won the Champions League, mate, and you want them to change everything to you. Like, come on, man. I think the signing probably it was one of them ones like what Man United have done recently, where look, this is a marquee player. He bangs goals, but not really thought too much about how he fits their system. But again, he should be doing what he can to fit that. It's outrageous, man. I was just speaking to a Chelsea fan earlier, man, and he just said pretty much fuck that guy. So they're not happy with it. So,
I think if you break I'm actually going to be, I'm going to kind of give a neutral point to the part. I think the first part of the interview,
I don't want you.
this is going to be criticism. Don't believe me. The first part of the interview, I think it's been misinterpreted in terms of the fact that he says he wants to go back to Inter Milan and whatever's happened there, blah blah blah. I think that has been misinterpreted in a sense of he doesn't want to go right now, but he would love to return to Inter Milan.
Okay, he said he said, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I get it.
He said, I want to go back to Inter in
his prime. Yeah.
he's 28.
I get that. But what I'm saying is, I genuinely do feel like what he said there is not something that he's thought about in the process. I think it's more about his love for Inter Milan, because if you actually base it on his career, if you look at the time where he's probably had the best goal scoring ratio, he's done the most in terms of his own performances, it's at Inter Milan, and it was Conte that rejuvenated him, who he mentions as well, right? So in terms of that part, I think he's just trying to give a piece to the Inter Milan fans, because the way he left, it was a bit like everything that came out in the media was like he was begging to come back to Chelsea and blah blah blah, and he was just saying more of a case of he went because of the fact that the Inter Milan were in big financial trouble and they were offered ridiculous amount of money for him, so he had to go. And I do feel like that there is that part of it. I think there is personally, because even the owner himself says it. Even the owner himself said we were in desperate trouble and we were offered ridiculous money, so we had to sell. So I think on that part, he's talking about his love for Inter Milan, which is fine. Where I don't agree with at all is the criticism and the fact that you're berating your own current manager at Chelsea, which for me is an absolute embarrassment. Even if, say, someone like Ronaldo did that to Rangnick in an interview, that would be an embarrassment for me as well. It doesn't matter what position. Yeah, that for me is ridiculous. It's a bit like the Kepa situation when Sarri was there in the League Cup. I think this Lukaku interview is actually worse. I'm not going to lie to you, because of how damaging that can be. When on paper you've got your biggest game coming up against Liverpool, which could have derailed them. I mean, when they were 2-0 down, I'm sure a lot of people would have been fuming over that. And the fact that he's just scored in back-to-back games as well, it's a guy that really is on form, and for him to come out with that is an absolute disgrace. And you guys haven't said it, but I'm sure you're thinking about it. Gary Neville, for me, is he's a fucking disgrace of a human being. You come out with everything about COVID, you come out with everything about ESL, but when it comes to actually shutting up shop and actually talking honestly about players like Paul Pogba, and when you're comparing Lukaku's interview to what Harry Kane did on a golf course with Gary Neville, is absolute and utter garbage. It's shit. There is no difference. In fact, what Lukaku has done is worse, you could argue. But what Kane did by begging to leave and openly admitting that he wanted to go, there is no difference at all. And by calling him a top professional, I don't care. He's obviously not a top professional, because if he was begging to leave, right? So you give the same heat, I'm afraid. And if he doesn't come, because he looks at Twitter, obviously, Gary Neville, he sees what's around. If he doesn't come out with a statement or owns up to the fact that what he said about Kane was a mistake, then I'm sorry. Everything about Gary Neville is utter garbage, because you cannot come out with those sort of statements and not get the heat for it, right? But regards to Lukaku, just to summarise, completely out of order. The only thing he can now say is he can't even apologise, because that interview was very open and honest, and it came from the heart from him. So all he can say now realistically is, look, I said what I said, it is what it is. But the one thing I can assure you is, whilst my contract is at Chelsea, I will give my 110%, and I will try my hardest on the pitch to get goals or, to provide any sort of contribution, because he can't now say sorry and say, I didn't mean what I said, because he obviously meant what he said. It's a very honest interview. It's like, the interview reminds me of like you speaking to your mate openly about something. That's how it felt like to me. So he can't then deny and say, by the way, I didn't mean anything that I said, because he meant exactly what he said. But yeah, I mean, over to you guys. And yeah, like I said, to summarize, completely out of order for the interview.
Look, the thing about Lukaku is I feel like he's burnt bridges, and it's come out recently that he's apologising, everything's all forgiven. But in the back of everybody's mind is going to be that lingering doubt of whether or not he's actually 100% committed to us, irrespective of what he says in a comment. I think the fans don't. If I was a fan of Chelsea and Lukaku says I'm 110% behind the team, in my back of my mind I'm doubting that regardless. It's especially if he drops a 4 out of 10 performance. That's the thing I'm going to focus on mostly, and they have every right to focus on that mostly. But the thing about Lukaku, which I don't understand, is that it seems like, and it's pretty much been confirmed, that those bridges at Inter Milan have been burnt. But even though he did say to Lautaro Martinez, wait for me. Like, don't say that, bro. That means you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking that if it doesn't work out here, I'm gonna jump ship and go straight back to Inter Milan in the next year or in the next 2 years. I don't think it matters. But he's burnt bridges because the fans there don't want him back with what they've said. I think there was a banner which said, if you leave us in the hard times or something like that.
Yeah, if you leave us in the rain, don't. Yeah. If you leave us in the storm or some shit, something along those lines. But
something
like
very poetic. Yeah, exactly. Something very poetic,
yeah.
which was like, you left us when we were down. Fuck you. So he's burnt that bridge with the fans. I think it was Balzagli that came out and said recently in an interview, we got Eden Dzeko on a free, and honestly, there's been no difference. To a degree, I disagree because Lukaku has been miles better than Eden Dzeko than what he's done at Inter Milan. But if the fans don't want him back, the legends and the former players don't want him back, and now he's got a situation at Chelsea where the players that have also, that what Lord said, have won a Champions League without him, are looking at him sideways. He's in a rock and a hard place, and I don't think he goes back to Inter Milan. I don't see where he goes from here. I just know it's not going to be at Chelsea for a very long time. He's going to be on the chopping block very soon.
You know, I was just trying to find some of the other comments, and one of the ones that I think was a bit poor, not about Tuchel. The Tuchel ones speak for themselves, but the Inter Milan ones, where he says if they'd been offered a new contract from Inter last summer as I wanted, we would not be doing this interview now here in London. McQuarrie from Milan. It's basically like, we're only here because I'm only here because I didn't get a new offer. Otherwise, I would have stayed there. Not the sort of messages of when he was like, it had to be Chelsea and I wanted to come back to Chelsea. That's not what you want to hear. It's like, I'm only here because I didn't get a contract at any other club. So no club ever want. Imagine any of the players that you've signed says that. That's a kick in the. That's
embarrassing, bro. Absolutely, especially when you spend that kind of money. And Roger put a great comment in the chat. I haven't seen it, but I don't want to address this yet. But also, just to come back to a couple of things, two things. Firstly, the Gary Neville things, right? Gary Neville, I don't know if he said this on Sky. I don't know if he said this elsewhere. I think it was on Sky. He said, this is Gary Neville's words, he said that Lukaku owes his teammates an apology. So where the fuck was your energy for Harry Kane, you prick? Because Harry Kane, with you on the golf course, said he wants a new challenge. He wants XYZ. He literally handed in a transfer request. But apparently, Kane doesn't need to apologize for shit. But apparently, Kane doesn't need to apologize. Bro, the guy's been absolutely shit the entire season. I haven't seen no model professional. He's only turned up last 3 weeks. Whatever he's been. Kish will tell me better. He's been absolutely shocking. Kish called him to see you next Tuesday. Literally late November. That's how shit he's been this season. And Kish loves Kane, as every Spurs fan does. The amount of Spurs fans that turn on this guy because of the absolute embarrassment he's brought to his club. And I've never heard any British pundit hold him accountable. Lukaku completely in the wrong. But what a shock. What a shock that everybody's on his case straight away. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but we all know what I'm alluding to here. Kale's smiling. He knows what I'm talking about. Let's just paint people with different brushes. If Paul Pogba did what Kane did,
with his
he would have got fucking crucified. Make no mistake about it. But soon as they would have bought Souness in on a Sunday morning, even if it was Christmas Day for a 1 hour special of Pogba and his attitude. But coming back to Kane, coming back to Lukaku, it also caused unrest in the dressing room because people below him, Timo Werner's nowhere good enough at the moment, so I'm not going to say him. But even him to an extent, if he's now sat on the bench where Lukaku's playing and Lukaku's having a bad game, this guy doesn't want to be here and he's still playing over me and he's playing shit. Every time Lukaku has a bad game, as Lola said, the fans are not going to say, does he even want to be here? He's giving 100%. The media's going to be on his case. It's breeding toxicity within the air of Chelsea, which didn't need to be there. They're the champions of Europe. I mean, Tuchel didn't need to win the league to be deemed a success this season. He's just been here 12 months. Nowhere does it say that Tuchel comes in 12 months and he has to win the Champions League, then go and win the league. Granted, some Chelsea fans don't escape.
I think the problem with Lukaku
is a failure.
I think the problem with Lukaku is if you look at his best periods as initially when he came to Manchester United under Mourinho and then Inter Milan under Conte, those two managers are managers that I feel like
the one above that, please. The one above that, bruv.
I can see.
Does Golden Boots equate or World Cup, which he was a key part of?
Is you know about Harry Kane?
He's on about Harry Kane and Pogba. That
1 second, because let me just.
No,
Pogba scored in Europa League final. Kane was disappeared in his final, and also Pogba scored in the World Cup final. Kane could fucking never. So let's keep it real. Pogba was the fucking man of the match in the World Cup final. I don't even think Kane could fucking lace Pogba's boots as it currently stands in terms of personal accolades. So let's not go down that route, because you're not going to win that. You know, a goal tally doesn't mean shit. As Soon said, your guys go. You're a Liverpool fan, Joe. Put your fucking medals on the table, okay? And I got shit. So I rest my case. But anyways, Kish, as you were saying, Lukaku.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if you look at Lukaku's best 2 periods as a player on paper, it's under Mourinho at Man United, the first probably 12 to 18 months, where he was banging the goals in, and at Inter Milan under Conte. Those are both
Everton.
Yeah, he had a good period of time. But if you look at Roberto Martinez, you look at those managers. Those are managers that put an arm around the player. They're the ones that entire focus is making that player feel 10 feet tall and make them stand out. Someone like a Tuchel is one of those players where he has expectations of players, which is really modern day management. Their expectations that, you're on the pitch. If I select you to start, I have expectations for you to perform week in, week out. Now, some of the things that he's been hinting in some of the press conferences when Lukaku has come back from injury is the fact that, a player needs to be on their fitness. They need to have, they need to be eating healthy, drinking lean, all of that. And you can see with Lukaku, the Lukaku that you're seeing recently, although he scored back-to-back games, is very reminiscent physique-wise of the Lukaku at the end of the Man United era. He does look like he's put a bit of weight. If you actually look at the recent games that he's played, he doesn't look as lean. He doesn't look as lean as what he has done at his Inter Milan days. And that's maybe what Tuchel's hinting at, because Lukaku hasn't started. He didn't start for 4 games, I think, or 5 games coming back from injury. He came on for the Villa game, changed it, and then he came on. He started the game before where he scored and they drew. So he was probably hinting at that. The fact that the reason why you didn't start those initial games might have been down to your fitness and whatever. But for Lukaku to moan, I mean, he had an 8-game drought of not scoring, I think, even before he was injured. Then he got injured. Then he had COVID. And then he was getting bit part roles in the last 4 games. It's not like he's been out for...
That's the thing with him, Kish, though. But that's the thing that you don't see, that Man United fans were so happy that he left. The guy always cries when he don't get his own way. He was doing it at Man United. Some of it was justified, but some of it definitely wasn't. Every time he doesn't get his own way, he starts crying. But listen, we need to move on, because I've just seen the time of the show. We haven't even spoken about Arsenal, and we haven't spoken about West Ham, so we need to speed this up. So let's quick against the Arsenal City game. A lot happened. I mean, firstly, the title's over in my personal opinion, so I think that's the gist of it. But the main talking point, penalty or not penalty. I'm going to pass it Lawless. I know I said we're going to delegate, but I think it's better if it comes from Lawless. So Lawless, the floor's yours, my guy.
Listen, we said it in the chat. Kay was not going to like it. He don't like it. It's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. When you look at it, and I've watched it over and over again. I watched it in real time. And there is an angle where if you look at it, and I think it's the angle on the other side of Edison. So from behind Edison, where you look at it in speed, you think, geez, like he's tripped him there. He takes him out. You watch it closely. Edison comes in for the ball. He's approaching the ball. And as he gets to, as he's getting there, right, obviously, Odegaard comes and shifts his foot around to, try and take the ball away from him, yeah? And as he does that, because he sees Edison coming, yeah? So he's trying to get his foot around to take the ball away and turn him, right? Turn around, get round him. So as he does that, he lifts his foot up, brings his foot down as Edison comes to the ball, pushes down on his foot, his heel. So you can see Edison's heel, right? Is his foot. It makes contact with the ball just as the foot comes down and stamps on the foot. Now, to me, that's a foul on the keeper. Or if you look at it, right, and even if you want to say, and I know Cahill's not going to change his mind, I'm not going to change. Even if you want to say it's a penalty, right? Even if you think it's a penalty, the way Arsenal fans have acted like it's the biggest robbery in the history of football, and it's so clear cut. How could you say, even if you think it's a penalty, you can't say that that's like as clear cut as it gets, and you know what I mean, they've cost us the game because when you look at it, like I said, I'm saying it's not a penalty. You've, Usman, you know, once you saw that back, said it weren't a penalty. Kish, I don't want to spoil everyone's opinions, but they might change whatever one. But I think like we're kind of divided, right? So, and a lot of other people have been seen, so it's not clear cut. It's not one of them ones. Like, it's one of them ones where if it's given against you and you go, fuck, that should have been a penalty. But it's not one of them ones that you're like, oh my God, corruption. How have they not given that? Like, there's been so many more blatant penalties not given this season that the way the reaction about this is, I can't understand it because it really it's not that. Like I said, I don't think it's a penalty. It's not that deep.
I think the reaction comes from the fact that City got their penalty, and their penalty was I wouldn't say justice contentious because I think Granit Xhaka was a fucking idiot. Because to be honest, if you look at it before, Bernardo Silva is going down before there's any contact made, and that's his problem. If you don't go down, you ain't gonna get the penalty. But for what Granit Xhaka did in terms of grabbing the shirt when he's on the way down, leaving the leg out, that makes that penalty decision much more easier for the referee to give.
Yeah, but he leaves. If you look, Cahill, I think right. I'm not gonna completely take over once you get back, but so as Silvers obviously sees him, tries to get round him, he obviously sees Xhaka's leg coming in, so Xhaka puts his leg in front of him. Just as, and then that's when sort of like he's going down, whether you say okay he's diving or he's trying to avoid the leg comes in as like you said, as he's going down from the leg, he grabs the shirt, and once he grabs that shirt, he so like you said, it's right. If he don't grab the shirt, they might look at that and go, okay, like, has he really? Where's the contact? Has he really made contact? Is he going down before there's contact with the leg? Has he initiate the contact? The shirt pull just it makes it a wrap.
Absolutely. And on the penalty decision, I completely disagree, but you already knew that. I feel like Odegaard is in complete control of that whole situation. He's going for the ball, and unless you want Arsenal players to moonwalk to get the ball, or when they run, you just it's avoidable. I think Ederson, once he slides in, yes, Odegaard takes his ankle, but where's Odegaard's foot going to go from there? I don't see. He completely misses the ball, and Odegaard, and then Ederson sweeps Odegaard's foot from underneath, and from that instance, in my opinion, that's a penalty. But it is what it is. I don't think the match rested on the penalty decision. I think the match rested on the fact that we wasted our golden opportunity when Martinelli missed that the open goal. And if I'm going to be absolutely shameless, which I will be, the referee got in his way. I'm only joking.
I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans say that, right?
No,
and there is some truth to that, but
there is some truth. But
Arsenal completely shot themselves in the foot this game. I mean, this comment here, this comment from Raji, who's obviously an Arsenal fan as well. Forget the penalty. Can we talk about how good Arsenal was? So let's get into that, because for me personally, penalty, it's literally 50-50 split. For me, Lourdes think it's not a pen. I've changed my mind. And Kish and Kale, I think it is a pen. Again, like I said, it's not really what we need to talk about to an extent. Let's talk about Arsenal first, because I think City is a bit boring to talk about. Look, firstly, I'm going to start because I've been bashing Arsenal, right? Listen, Arsenal this game were absolutely phenomenal. There's no denying that. But one thing I find absolutely hilarious is that you were absolutely scintillating at your best, literally brilliant, and City was shit, like the worst that they could perform, and you still lost. You still found a way out of all the control you had in the game. I think you were 1-0 up as well. Am I right? I can't remember now.
They won up.
Yeah, of course, Saka scored. The guy you yourself admitted. So you're 1-0 up, completely cruising, dominant. It should be 3-4 to be honest in the first half. Let's be real. City lucky to get the penalty to an extent. Just stupidity from Xhaka. Apart from that, I couldn't see them scoring. But that absolute capitulation from Arsenal, regardless of the manager, regardless of the player. Okay, Xhaka was one of the players who's done it multiple times. But Gabriel, he is the reason you lost that game. Xhaka aside, okay, fair enough. The penalty, okay, it's stupid. It is what it is. I mean, it's shocking by Xhaka. But Gabriel, the first yellow card is for fucking standing on the penalty spot.
It's not.
It's not.
Well, that's what I read. If it's not, okay, fair enough.
No.
It should have been, because that's cheap.
No, don't get me wrong. It should have been.
Okay, it should have been. I thought it was for that.
If it should have been, Ramsdale should have got booked for it, but he didn't.
Oh, the reason got booked. I didn't realize he didn't get booked.
The reason why he got booked was because he got pushed into the referee, and the referee thought
Okay, but he should have got booked for that penalty.
He should have, but he didn't. And that's the
okay.
problem.
Either way, you're on a yellow card. Okay, it's happening.
Exactly.
And he makes one of the most pointless tackles on Jesus. It's not even Prime Aguero. It's Jesus. It's Jesus, whatever you pronounce his name. It's not even Aguero. Yeah. Bro, the guy's going absolutely nowhere. It's not going to hurt you. They've done nothing in the tie game, and you bring him down to the halfway line, not even the edge of your box. Like, he's not causing you any threat. He does that, gets sent off the back of just giving a penalty where your team has. Then Martin missed the open air. That 3 minutes literally summarizes Arsenal Football Club for me. You just capitulate constantly. I mean, you talk about Spurs botting it, but fucking hell, you Spurs it up, didn't you? You literally Spurs there. Like, and again, this is coming from my United fan. I got no leg to stand on tonight. I understand that, but this is
you're living though. You're living right now.
No, because you lot lost as well. So for me, I'm like, all right, is what it is. You lot.
No, but here's the thing about that. This is my takeaway from the entire game. The simple fact of the matter is, we went up against the best team in the league and potentially the best team in the world, and we absolutely handled them for 60 minutes. And for that, I am absolutely immensely proud. I'm not disappointed in the fact that we lost to Manchester City, because I thought before the game that we were going to lose to Manchester City. I agree with you on this point as to how we lost to Manchester City. It's giving the game away. The penalty which Xhaka was. Here's why I can't get behind Granit Xhaka. It's because yes, he can perform well, and people say great. He doesn't perform great. He performs well a few games here and there, but then in the back of your mind, you always know that he's going to fuck up, and he fucks up far too much for a guy who's been in the league for 5 years. It's too much. I think we need to just clean.
I thought he was going to get sent off, man. Like, he lost his head after that.
He lost his head. It's too much now.
He's an idiot, man. He's absolutely an
idiot. We just need to.
Kale's been saying this for 18 months as well. No cap.
On this show, yes, I've been saying it.
Yeah, on our show, yeah. Obviously, you've been saying it for longer, but on our show, consistently, you've been saying the same thing about Xhaka.
And Gabriel should, that was stupid.
You've got to give Arteta a huge amount of credit. Look, a few months ago, we did say, look, they were getting results against a poor Leicester team. They beat the Brightons, they will beat the Norwiches, and we all said, look, they've not played anyone of note yet. And then they lost to Manchester United, and we were like, look, same old Arsenal losing to
shit.
Yeah, but what we said was we need to see where they actually challenge against the best to show that that they're not far off. And if you're an Arsenal fan and you look at that game, how can you not be excited? There's a lot of critics of Arteta, including I know you're not a fan at all, Osman, of Arteta, which is fine.
He's just came on, so
But the one thing I would say to him is, look, he's now been given 2 proper transfer windows where he's got rid of a lot of Deadwood, with I'm sure a lot more to still come.
Spent a lot of money.
We all laughed at the 120 odd million that he spent, and we said it's
150.
We all laughed.
Dan, we're going to spend
a lot
more once it comes to January as well.
The Ramsdale signing, the Lokonga signing, it was like, who's that guy? A lot of other signings as well that we laughed at. But let's be fair, so far, we were wrong. We can't deny that. So far, we were wrong. And the thing is when you're an Arsenal team that has no European competition all season, they only have to focus predominantly on the league. And top 4 is achievable when that is your main focus, because I'm sure that was Arteta's task. That, look, no European competition, you must challenge for top 4. They're definitely challenging for it, but can they get it? If you look at Man United's performance today, West Ham, I know they won back-to-back, but before then, you look at Tottenham, it's still, you don't know what's going on. They're 100% in the mix for top 4 because it's 100% achievable. So for me, Arteta deserves a huge amount of credit. And the final thing to add on that, if you look at the average age of that Arsenal squad, it's like 22, 23. That 3 of Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, because I think Lacazette won't be offered a new contract. You look at that. That is a front 4, even 4, I would say, that will last for.
Can I just add one thing? Like, you mentioned Lacazette's name, right? I honestly think he's one of the key components to why you not playing well.
He is.
Because him going right, I don't think it's not obviously I wouldn't give him a new contract, but he is going to be a massive miss for Arsenal because he is the reason that the other guys are flourishing.
Yeah.
Remember when Oba got injured before and there was that Xhaka like a Saka thing that was going on? This isn't like a one-time thing. Previously, Lacazette stepped in for Aubameyang when he's not there, and also looked way better.
Yeah,
This isn't like it's not like a shot thing.
Here's the thing.
I think Lacazette's going to be a miss.
Do you know what it is? Aubameyang is a goal scorer, but nothing else. Lacazette has a full game, has a full repertoire to him.
But he's not a goal scorer.
He can be strong.
He's not a goal scorer. He's like a Firmino to an extent.
No, he can score. Yeah, he can, but he lets the players like Saka and Odegaard get ahead. Yeah.
But the thing about this whole situation is that he's reaching the end of his contract. He's also 30. I think he's 29, but he's reaching 30. So if he's not going to sign a contract, then we need to get rid of him. We need to look forward. And from what I'm hearing, if with the names I'm hearing, and I'm getting excited, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. If we're in there for Isak, if we're in there for the names like
Baller.
If we're in there for Jonathan David from Monaco, I think he plays for Lille. Those two, if we got those two right there, that's perfect replacement for Ober and
Isak for Ober is a no-brainer.
Yeah, Isak for Ober is a no-brainer. Jonathan David for Lacazette's a no-brainer as well. That sorts out our striker problem for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And it goes along with the philosophy here. So to be totally honest, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Arsenal. I'm liking what I'm seeing going forward from Arsenal. The age thing, which I agree with, I think that comes down to why there's capitulation. I didn't even mention Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey was fantastic in that game. Ben White was fantastic in that game. And these are the
best
types
game
of
Partey's played in an Arsenal.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you have to mention that because especially considering that I've been absolutely roasting Partey for the past 2 years. But it is what it is, man. He decides to play the game just before the African Cup of Nations. That's the game he decides to be up for. But it is what it is, man. But yeah, with the age of these players, I think that's where the capitulation comes from, lack of experience. You want your players like Xhaka, like Lacazette, like Ober to navigate that, but they haven't done. But I think once they grow and once they get older, I think that the whole capitulation situation goes out the window, and that's what I'm most excited about with this.
Can I pour a bit of cold water on your?
Of course, you're gonna pour cold water.
And everything that you're saying, I think Kish made some good points. Mm-hmm. I think, listen, like you have every right, and Arsenal fans should look at that and see, okay, we played well against Man City and take some positives and enjoy it and feel frustrated. Everything that you said, but to say, I think it's going a little bit too much to say he deserves a huge amount of credit. At the end of the day, the team still lost.
No, sorry, it's just to cut in there. I think he deserves credit for the way he's flipped it. I think there was I think they indicated from when he first got COVID to now, when he's got COVID second time, the switch, you can see it's a completely different team.
Wait, who stepped in for Arteta? Maybe he should be getting the credit because Arteta weren't there and they did all right. But I think it's easy to look on the surface. Yeah, I think, you know what? I think it's easy to look on the surface and see Arsenal lost 5-0 to Man City earlier in the league. They've gone and Man City have now come to Arsenal. Very good team, top of the league, running away with it. Arsenal give them a good game, unlucky to come or not to come away with something. That must mean that Arsenal's up there now and they've made this huge leaps and strides. However, I think with Man City, I always think that they perform best when they're under pressure. I think when I've noticed this a lot, when you start to see them have these big point margins, these big point gaps, they never really extend it to this point where it's well beyond reach or something. It's always big, but it's there, and they kind of take their foot off, and that's why they seem to start the season a bit slower and they drop points. Is when that pressure comes on and everyone's talking about them. And this was a situation when that pressure wasn't on, and I think this was typical Man City in this time, that they just weren't levels. They weren't coming there to go from the throat because they had to win, and it was, they had to go there and get something in the start their dominance. So I think if you see a Man City where the title race is fully competitive, it's a whole different ball game.
I don't agree with that. I disagree with that as well. No, in the slightest. That's coming from me, Lawless. I've defended basically show Michaels and fucking Triple H on this shit. But I can't stand by that notion at all.
No, but how can you not stand by that?
Because listen, because they played Arsenal. Yeah, you gotta put into context, right? You're saying this on a complete not hypothetical. You're saying this on hindsight. They did not know Liverpool and Chelsea were going to draw. Obviously, they knew one of them was going to
draw. But even before that, it's still the same situation.
No, but hear me out. So they didn't know Chelsea and Liverpool would draw. They knew one would drop points. Yeah, they knew that for sure. But they didn't know both would drop points. So there's no way, and God's given it, if they go into this Arsenal game not knowing that they have to win. Because let's say Arsenal win this game, which they should have. Let's be real. If it wasn't it's 3 minutes of capitulation, they deserve to win the game. Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah, Arsenal battered them.
But they were still 8 points clear going into it.
No. So if they lose that game against Arsenal and Liverpool got, just say Liverpool won the game for whatever reason, they went to know if Liverpool to win the game. Then they're literally in touching distance. And then if Liverpool beat Man City,
yeah, and then that's when Man City step it up. That's when Man City. Because like I said,
there's no way. Man City was shit.
I'm not saying that they were shit.
Man City was shit because of Arsenal. You've got to be real from a tactical
standpoint. I disagree, man. I think
Arsenal made them shit that game. They pressed them. They had more energy. They wanted it more, and they tactically outplayed them. It's as simple as that.
But if that's the case, why don't we see that more often?
How many times did City lose the ball that game? Because Arsenal did not give him time on the ball. They made it difficult for them to pass out from the box. I thought City had too much arrogance, to be honest. They thought,
and complacency.
Complacency to an extent. But then Arsenal hit them with so much they didn't know they couldn't retaliate because they're not used to teams attacking them. And when teams attack City, they tend to struggle because
look at it this way.
City, they tend to do well against City. It's a common thing with them.
Look at it this way, man. The way people are talking about Arsenal and how great they were in this 2-1 defeat, yeah. Look at Crystal Palace.
The way you said that.
Look at Crystal Palace, right? When they beat Man City at the Etihad 2-0. Everyone was making more of a big deal about how poor Man City were. Oh, Man's like Pep's last season, he's not going to win the league. They're out of it. This, that. Everyone was focusing. When it was Palace, who actually kept it.
Because you know what people are. People don't respect these lower league teams.
No, but I'm talking. Yeah, but that's the problem.
But look at today, even in this show. When we're talking about Man United losing, hardly anyone's mentioned how brilliant Wolves were because they were phenomenal.
Yeah, but don't you think but this is a problem where when we look at Palace, who actually beat them 2-0, and no one's really saying this shows like Crystal Palace are on this turning point, and are they going to go up and start challenging for you?
It's not the same.
Are they?
Here's the difference between that. Crystal Palace are currently where they are currently. Arsenal are currently where we are currently. That's the difference. And honestly, if West Ham played this well against Manchester City, came out with the same result, and I came on and
West Ham won, did they?
And no, West Ham lost to City, and said West
Ham.
But
we lost 2-1 as well.
No, I'm not. Here's what I'm saying. If I was to come on and say that West Ham didn't play this amazing style, but it was Manchester City's capitulation that aided them, you'd absolutely hammer me, and I would never say that. So I don't understand why there's this double standard when it comes to
depends. Arsenal. No, I know what you're saying.
But here's the thing, Dan. Arsenal absolutely played City off the pitch for 60 minutes.
Arsenal, but I think Arsenal to their credit for this.
So for that alone, you need to give Arsenal credit.
But what I said earlier, you should take some positivity. But what I'm saying is, if this is Man City at their best, firing on all cylinders, that does not happen.
Yeah, but that was down to Arsenal, though.
But that's what I mean. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying
you can only play your best if the opposition lets you.
Arsenal didn't let them play to their best.
No, but what I'm saying is Arsenal on Man City's day, on Man City's day, Arsenal cannot do that to Man City.
Okay, yeah, but Arsenal didn't let them do that. No, we can't
on our day. On their day.
What's the point of football then?
No, but what I'm saying is
that's not saying on your day you can't beat any of the top 6 against them.
No, it's not. No, but that's silly because we're up in. I'm talking about Man City.
But that's pointless though, because that's like so. Imagine when you beat Liverpool, and KL's come on here and said, "Well, if Liverpool played on their day, they beat you." You're just discrediting their performance, though.
I'm not. What I'm saying is, you're coming here and saying, "Well, like." It was because Arsenal outplayed Man City to stop Man City being Man City. It's not just that.
They did outplay him.
Listen, Usman, You've got to account for the fact that Man City weren't up to their levels.
Hey Dan, I got
because of Arsenal, they didn't let him.
bro.
Dan,
Can we talk about West Ham?
Let's go to West Ham.
Why, if that's true, then what happened to the 5-0? Why ain't Arsenal up there challenging for the league then? If they can do that to Man City.
Because that's
the difference between a team like Man City and Arsenal is consistency. Arsenal can't do it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, kids, for that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to look, and this is a Man City problem, right? And they do run away with the league, but every now and then, like I said, when the pressure's off, they take their foot off the pedal, and we're going to see.
The pressure wasn't off, Dan. It's not like they were 10, 15 points.
No, but listen, the pressure's off enough to the point of they're not in danger. They're not in danger of being overtaken or have someone level of points.
Say Arsenal played well, please. Just
no, you played well. You played well. I'm not saying you didn't.
So you basically saying, right, that Arsenal played well. You've accepted that. But
yes.
You were saying the only reason Arsenal.
No, not the only reason.
Okay, one of the main reasons.
It is a reason.
Because Man City went up with the races. It wasn't anything to do with what Arsenal.
Arsenal played well. Man City played poor. Man City didn't turn up to the game, and you even admitted this, that they took Arsenal for granted. They didn't turn up to the game with the right mentality and the right attitude. Arsenal did well to take advantage for that. They were the hungrier side. They come up to, and it happens a lot of the time when teams face the better teams, right? We do it. We raise your game. They raised their game for Man City, and I've seen it so many times where the lower teams do it, and it's like, right, we know it's going to be a hard game. You're taking it much more seriously maybe than they're taking it. Because Man City are like, we smacked these 5-0 at the start of the season. Like, do you know what I mean? And you're coming in with that, that's in your mind. And you have to take some of that into consideration. It's not like, okay, all of a sudden now Arsenal can just do this to Man City on any given occasion, or they're on that level. No, man, you gotta take everything into consideration.
I don't think anybody's ever said that Arsenal.
No one said that.
No, but you're kind of saying that. If you're just saying, Man City,
this game was an
isolation.
No, but I'm saying if you're saying that Man City are coming into it at peak Man City, but Arsenal.
Don't tell me, Lourdes. How much of a peak do Arsenal need to play them? Come on, man. Me and you have berated Arsenal the entire season together. Tag team, Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Me and you together are basically tag team the fuck out KL the entire season, saying how shit they are. They've not done it against a good team. They've not done X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 etc., etc. Every time they've won, we've completely downplayed the victory and given it all these reasons. And Kiel sat there very quietly, respectfully said, fuck all, yeah.
I said the one
time that they play good against a very good team, the best team in the world, arguably, top 5, currently, top 3 even. They actually played back to back them, yeah. And now you're talking about if, buts, and maybes, bro. Listen,
it's not if, buts, and maybe.
They can only play who's in front of them, and this was Man City full strength with the best manager in the world, with the team that's on a 10.
But it's not full strength. They didn't have Grealish, did they? Kish.
Anyways,
let's skip to West Ham.
Yeah, we haven't got time. Look at the fucking clock. We haven't even spoken about West Ham.
I'm just saying. I said they played well. I'm just saying that. I said they played well, and they can take some positivity.
I know you guys have all got to work tomorrow. I haven't, because I'm wasting my brains where it is. But anyways, let's talk about the last thing. I'm not really going to talk about the West Ham game. I want to bring up someone's comments that I made in a video not so long ago. Since then, West Ham won 2 games on the bounce, actually. A certain individual in a green shirt said, Care chirped up as well as the kind of
Usman, are you going to?
I know this is seen it. He can make his own judgment. But
yeah, of course,
you see the entire clip. He can make his own judgment. I didn't join in. I didn't join in at all. He's seen the clip.
From that clip, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was like 5 minutes. I've watched it all. But anyways, so Kish basically said West Ham. Kish, do you want to repeat yourself? Like, what are your thoughts on West Ham?
Yeah, listen. No, listen. You can't. The last 2 games that they've played, good results. The Crystal Palace game, almost, and I'm sure you were squeaky bum lawless at the end, the last 10 minutes.
Oh, I get your popcorn ready for this one.
What was it? Mateta in the 93rd minute, that overhead kick. I would have been on your arse if that had. I probably would have rang you, to be honest. Look, listen. You can't deny the fact that they've jumped back in to the race fantastically. You know, you've got to give that. Antonio started, I think, the last few games has come back.
He scored some pretty goals.
He was non-existent. But that's the other thing with West Ham again that I'll reaffirm to is the squad depth, because Antonio isn't superhuman. He'll have a barrage of games, and it was a barrage of games where he won't score. He'll have little impact, and that coincided with West Ham's kind of little stage where they weren't getting the results. So for me, January.
Kids, can we stop
West Ham are
sugarcoating?
serious on top
Kids,
four.
let's stop sugarcoating. You said that West Ham have finished. They've had a longer purple patch than they normally have, and now they're back to where they belong. That's what you said.
To be honest, look again, but I'm going to stick to one thing, and the one thing I'm going to say is West Ham won't be in this position for too long, because it will happen where Declan Rice will be sold, because there's no way that if a Man City or Chelsea came that he will stay at West Ham, and then it will go back to mid-table. That's just what will happen. So the one thing I'll just say to you, Lawless, is make the most out of this time that you've got, because right now you're riding on that wave, top 4 challenges and doing well. But eventually it will go back to it, because the only way West Ham can appease the likes of Declan Rice is winning trophies. There's no way on planet Earth. Look at Grealish. Aston Villa was his boyhood club, whatever it was. If Man City come calling and Pep Guardiola came calling, I put money on it, the fact that he would literally get the first bus to Manchester. And that's what will happen.
I can afford a helicopter, bro.
You know what? The absolute audacity for a Spurs fan to sit there and say what you have just said. Yeah. When you have Harold Kane, who actively tried to, your best player, you tried to leave the club, and it was, didn't get his move in the end, but he tried to leave your club because you don't win trophies. He wants to win trophies, and then the ramifications of what him leaving could mean for Tottenham, right? I see what you're saying. In some ways he could leave, blah, blah, blah. But Declan Rice has not tried to leave. He's not made the noise.
Kane is 29 in the summer, so there's different scales of the career.
Yeah, but when
Harry Kane was Declan Rice's age, he signed a 6-year contract. Stupid, but he was there for another 6 years.
So we've got more time to attempt to realize Declan Rice's ambitions, right? So, and to say, and if Declan Rice does leave, we're going to get a hell of a lot of money for him, right? And we can talk about, when we talk about transfers, and we talked about Liverpool, and now, look, I'm not going to put our business on Liverpool's level, but when we talk about reinvesting money and how well we can reinvest that, David Moyes has been very successful since he's returned with his transfer signings. He hasn't made a bad signing in this stint of David Moyes, in my opinion. So I have every confidence that if we do have to sell Rice, which will be over 100 million, that money could be reinvested to stop us going down to mid-table. Like, I have every confidence, but that's not going to happen in this window. I don't think it's going to happen in the next window. Obviously, he's got a contract, and it all depends on what someone offers us.
How long is that contract?
I think he's still got another 3 years. I think he's got another 3 years.
I honestly don't see anybody spending 100 million on Declan Rice or above 100
well,
million.
then he sees out his contract. We've got it for another 3 years. Like, so then we've got another 3 years.
I do see a club paying 100 million for Declan Rice, to be honest. There's been enough of a trajectory in him in the last 2 years where you could probably justify it. If he for example, right now,
I mean, if you get 100 million, then Rice is definitely 100 million now.
No, but he slides into Man United's midfield straight away. Or even Man City's at the moment, you could argue that he would get into the starting lineup, because don't get me wrong, Rodri's a good player.
That goal and celebrate.
But would you? I would still pick Rice ahead of Rodri. That's just my personal.
You'd still take Rodri's given one of the most iconic Adebayo moments in recent times.
Adebayo moments, you waste.
Yeah, loads of other players have given iconic moments. It doesn't mean that they're better than another player just because of an iconic moment.
Okay, don't disrespect that king, man.
But yeah, I think Rice.
Manchester City plays the king, is that right?
Chelsea, all Manchester United.
No, listen. If he goes to Manchester United, he's crazy because I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to come for you or anything on, but I'm being genuinely honest
Nah,
here.
he's sending for you, bro. He's sending for you.
Your club right now is, and you can't, you know, it is in the mud. And if he goes to Man United, yes, he's going to improve the team, but that club is still a mess, and it's going to take a long time to attempt to get you challenging.
Where should he go then? Because like, I agree with you. If he goes to Man United, then he's got a couple of brain cells missing. I don't think there's anything to lie down. But hypothetically speaking, from Declan Rice's standpoint, if he does come to Manchester United, he fixes a lot of our issues. Because
Yeah, but you don't fix his issues. You don't fix his ambitions.
He's the exact player that we need.
Wait. Manchester United don't fix Rice's ambitions.
They're not. When are they ever, like in any time soon? When are they ever going to challenge?
I mean, he just what Usman alluded to. He fixes a huge amount of the gaps.
Fixes all of our problems.
Yeah, but you know, but they've still got the problems of these certain individual players that have this individual mind and don't fit the whole.
If he goes to Chelsea, yeah, he's not guaranteed to start. He should start. I'm not saying he shouldn't, but I'm saying he's not guaranteed to start. If he goes to City, he's not guaranteed to start. And then look, if
so why leave now just for the sake of going to a Man United?
I think he should stay at West Ham for at least 2 more years minimum, because he's only like 22. He should stay there until he's 24. Establish himself in the Premier League, get a couple of good other seasons under his belt. And then he should eventually get his move. I think he's
going to be come start next season. He'll be our full-time captain of this.
All I'm saying is Man City need to replace Fernandinho. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
if Man City come knocking, then he's leaving. As simple as that. Lawless, would you take Grealish to the way?
That's ridiculous. Like any Big Six side. That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard, Raj. Because we're incorporating the Big Six, the Super Six.
Here we go.
We're incorporating Arsenal and Spurs into that equation. Arsenal and Spurs do not take Rice where he wants to go. They don't take him.
He might win a trophy.
So he might win like take Spurs out of the equation then if we're talking about that.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. He might win like an FA Cup here, right? Which one FA Cup, let's be real. One FA Cup here and there, like every 7 years. And when he wins that first one, it's going to feel great. But that doesn't realize his ambitions. He's going to have to move again because he's going to go, well, I want to compete for titles.
But does he? I'm not saying this to be any like bad or anything, but does he achieve those trophies at West Ham?
No, I'm not saying that he does. I'm not saying that he does, but I'm saying if you're going to move, there's no point making a move. Whether at the moment I think it's a sideways step or it's a marginal tiny forward. It's not enough of a leap to warrant leaving. Like if you're gonna make that move, it has to be the move that's gonna be like right now. Jack Grealish, like he weren't gonna leave for Spurs. Aston Villa, like he left because he left for the biggest one.
That's a fair point.
The top team, yeah. But at the end of the day, like I said, I don't think he's gonna leave anytime soon. They're still trying to work out a deal. I think. Look, he's not even our highest paid player at the club now. So there's money there. We get Yarmolenko. That's fucking crazy.
That's nuts.
There is strong sources though that he has been hinting to move. I mean, it's been quite a few sources. It's not just like the odd one or two. You've seen quite a few. I'm sure you've read it by yourself.
But there's been these little sources. And they're going to be there.
Champions League football, for example, this season, and he has anyone in the Champions League, any of the top teams, say Chelsea, City, Liverpool.
I think Chelsea go for him.
Then for me, he will go.
Yeah, well, he has a contract, and they have to pay what he's worth, so he can't just go off his own belief.
Chelsea will pay the money, man. Chelsea will pay the money.
Well, then we cross that bridge, right? But at the moment,
Liverpool, though, the beginning of the show, that would be a huge signing for Liverpool, in my opinion. But
yeah, it would, because he definitely gets into their midfield and starts for their midfield without a doubt, and he's only going to get better, and he's a captain. But at the moment, this is hypothetical. What I see in front of me now is we have a good group of players. Yes, we had a rough December. We had a rough December up until the end. We lost Ogbonna and Zuma and Creswell, three of our most important players, right? And we lost Ben Johnson. Like, we lost the whole back line, right? So we're in a situation now defensively. We're a shambles because of the players we've got. You're playing Masuaku, I love, next to who's not supposed to be a left back, next to Diop, and it don't work. You're playing Craig Dawson. Like, these players.
When are the players back, Lawless, by the way?
Well, Zuma's supposed to be back end of the month, right?
Okay.
Ogbonna's out till probably the end of the year, which means we need another centre back. We need
Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yeah. Creswell, we don't know. He done his back. He slid into the post, and I think he's snapped something in his back.
We've got you in like 2 weeks. That's the only reason I'm asking. I'm not gonna lie.
So it's gonna be crazy. But this is why it's all hinges on what we do in this window and how well we can and how many points we can pick up till some of these key players are back. We're linked with Lucas Digne on loan with a potential to buy, which I think is huge if we can, because he's leaving Everton.
Yeah, he's going to Chelsea. He's going to Chelsea.
He's too good for Everton. He's a top player. I think he's good for Chelsea, though, Lawless.
Well, no, if he look, that Chelsea would have to definitely go.
He's going Chelsea. Respect. Well, not guaranteed.
No, of course he chooses Chelsea.
This season, they need him as well, don't they? So.
But again, like, it depends, doesn't it? It all depends on, because Chelsea are a club who have many options, like, to go for players, and there's other players they can go for. So we see, right? Then, you know what I mean? We're obviously linked with, we need a striker. And Antonio actually come out and said this. I've written an interview today. He said that basically along the lines of having another striker there to push him. And he admitted he had that time where he was quiet and he weren't really scoring, but having another striker to push him would help him. And it would benefit of that. So he knows, like, and it's true, you need that. Like, to be that one striker, you know, like, no matter what, you're in that team every week. It's not healthy. So I think we're definitely getting that strike. We're definitely addressing that. I think we're definitely going to get a centre back in, because it's an absolute necessity. Left back, it's up in the air. I think we need a left back. And then it's all about if we get Lingard in. Lingard is this. This guy
Lingard's definitely going to West Ham.
Joe White, by the way, Twanzebe's gone to Napoli.
Yeah, Twanzebe's gone to Napoli. Yeah, just on stop.
Yeah, Lingard is a massive tease, because he's Instagramming about us every day. Like,
he's a bit embarrassing, to be honest. But listen, I love Lingard, so I'm not going to say anything bad about him.
But Traore is an interesting one. We spoke a bit about Traore off stream, right?
Did you see him today?
Yeah, no, listen. No. I saw the good and the bad of Traore.
Bro, don't get Traore, bro. After watching it today, you're probably going to spend half that 20 million on fucking oil supplies for starters.
Looks ready for the Royal Rumble.
The guy would infuriate you, man.
I think you guys are being too harsh. Like, we've said this, his end product is terrible.
Bro, I think he's got like 4 goals.
Terrible. But
it's too bad.
What he's like, the guy is rapid. He's absolutely like.
Yeah, but so is Dan James.
Nah, he's not. Yeah, but he's not as fast as like Traore. What I'm thinking is, if West Ham, right, with our system, say we want to counter, sometimes the problem is you have one or two players. If you have a Traore, like, he can terrorize, right? And if you can improve his end product, then it's big. But he's not going to be our first choice. If they want 20 mil, I can't see him paying for that.
Bro, he's been at Barcelona. He's been under Nuno Espirito Santo's rules. Regardless of the last season, was a very good side where he had his best season. He's been under Bruno Lage. He's doing very well this season. I don't see where he improved anywhere in product.
He has not been under Moyes, who is the expert at turning wingers into strikers.
Okay, well,
and Nauovic and Antonio, man, he turned them from wingers into strikers. And maybe
to Antonio's and Arnautovic's credit, they kind of scored goals before.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
Antonio wasn't really a goal scorer when he was on the wing. He was
I've been Antonio since day one. When he was a right back, kids tell him, bro. I had this guy in my fantasy football, Lawless. Yeah, when he burst onto the scene on Michael Richards, I had this guy, and mans were mocking me, and then he scored his first couple of goals for West Ham or wherever it was. I think it was West Ham, and I was like, I told you about Antonio. This guy's you could just see with the guy, he was a talent from day one.
Yeah.
It just wasn't
Our first season.
So with Traore, you know, like as Roger said, he's still only 25. I mean, I know people kind of wrap players off at the age of 25, but I think we need to understand that a lot of a player depends on their development, their coaching. Look at Gnabry. Gnabry, for me, is the perfect example of a player being written off because he was in the wrong hands. Tony Pulis said he ain't good enough for West Brom, bro.
I know.
Arsenal side, because obviously, you know, you had those options at the time, etc., although that was an L as well. But Gnabry, Tony Pulis said he's not good enough for West Brom. And man is at Bayern Munich playing week in, week out, like literally like 4 years later. So that's what I mean. Like Traore, he had that great spell where him and Jimenez assist goal. So he is capable of finding that. And as you said, on the break, sometimes you don't even need the quality, you just need space, innit? He'll have the space.
He is frightening on the ball. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get from him, and there's that surprise element. Like, it could be amazing, and he could get.
Imagine him and Antonio in the same team. That strength on FIFA, though, yo, that's a madness. Still.
Yeah, mate, like, geez, I'd love to see, like, if he, you know, he gets Antonio, and Antonio's like, oh, let me try this baby oil stuff, and like all of a sudden the aerodynamics now of Antonio, he's got pace on him, like, you'd be mad. But yeah, all I finish is to summarize on West Ham. I think people made too much of a big deal about our dipping form. No one wanted to look at the injuries that we had. It was West Ham have been found out. West Ham's, they've had their moment. Now they're back down to where they were.
Who said that?
You know, what's that?
Who said that?
Oh, I don't know. Like some salty Spurs fans, you know, as they do. There's a few. Patrick, man, has been relentless.
Yeah, I've seen
he has been relentless, but like I said, no one wanted to look at the context of the injuries, like the when it comes to other teams, people want to talk about, oh, we didn't get that result against us, and I'm excluding Cahill out of this because what he said, I think today about his result was fair. He should have had a penalty, but it weren't the only reason. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm not talking about you, Cahill, but a lot of the whinging and crying from Arsenal fans and conspiracy theories when we had a lot of them decisions in December go against us, penalties that we should have had, right? But none of these things, no one talks about any of these things. It's just, oh, well, West Ham are back down in the dumps again. That's them finished. They're at the top 4 race. When it's like, you have to consider that. And we're going to improve the side. We're going to get players back. And we're seeing, even without them, we're still picking up points. We've scored 7 goals now in 2 games. And we're about to strengthen the side. So people don't give us enough credit, I feel. And we're proving that we're here to stay. Look, we're 5th in the table, and we're 1 point behind Arsenal. It's all to play for, and like I said, I do think we'll finish above Man United. It all depends on. I'm very interested. I think Spurs. There's too much we don't know about Spurs in terms of how they're going to be on a consistent pace. This new manager, so that we've got a lot to find out about Spurs. And we've got a lot to find. Arsenal, again, they've been take the first couple of games out the window. For the course of the season, they've been very lucky with injuries. And you've got to think there's going to come to a point as the season progresses where they start to pick up an injury here or there and then see how they cope with those injuries.
I just to add on that, by the way, big statement, but I think Spurs are favourites for top 4. I'm not gonna lie.
I said that on last week's show.
Yeah. We're on paper. That's the whole reason why we
I literally said that on last week's show.
Yeah, and
I'd agree with that.
After seeing what I've seen in terms of Man United, because they were the ones who I thought were bankers. I'm not gonna lie, for top 4, just based on individual players. Because
I said last week that
the way I see it and the way I've seen Rangnick's tactics.
I've watched this play with fucking.
Yeah, and the way I've seen Rangnick's tactics and the fact that it doesn't look like he'd be willing to change so far, for me, Conte and Spurs are favourites for the top 4.
Yeah. I just want to finish on this last question, though. It's just one word answer because we're going well over to thinking. I know everyone's got other commitments as well. I mean, fucking hell, it's like 11 o'clock. So yeah, just very quickly, what are your thoughts on this answer? I mean, it's a bit open-ended question. I don't think.
We're all guessing at this point. It's just we're just it's going to be a
Yeah,
guess.
we'll come back to that at the end because obviously we can judge it then. Just on the Lawrence, because you weren't here last week, I actually said on the last week's show that I think Spurs are favourites. Obviously, Kish didn't agree with me because he hadn't seen enough of Man United. Now he's seen us. He's changed his mind. I mean, listen, I said last week, I can't remember if we won last week or the week before, but anyways, one of the other games that we won recently, I said we were shit. Got lucky, and again, Rannick's only been here for 2 days, but I just don't think he's gonna have the time to change it, turn it around, because unlike Conte's coming in with a very familiar system and it's very easy to pick up on, because obviously, you know, you're playing the 3-4-3. A lot of these players have already played in that formation, not in just past managers, but in general, it's a very common formation. He's coming with a 4-2-2 that is very uncommon in world football, and you need specialists for most formations, but with this formation, you need IQ, and our players are stupid. It's quite evident as of today that they have not got a clue. They were deers and headlights, all of them. They don't know what's going off. So I think we're going to struggle. But what I will say is that you guys are writing us off and rightfully so today, but a lot can change in a couple of weeks. I mean, Arsenal are going through a very positive patch now. I don't think anyone's denying that. Man United, that was actually our first loss in 8 games. So although it sounds like, I mean, it was a shocking performance, but it was actually our first loss in 8 games. Our last one being the Watford one where Ollie got sacked. So since then, we've actually done all right in terms of picking up points, not performance-wise, but points-wise. So for me, I do think Spurs are favourites because of Conte. That is the only reason I put it down to. I wouldn't put it down to any personnel, but Conte is the best manager of the ones that we're talking about here. So, Lolis, I'm going to pass it to you before we go around the room. What do you reckon? Obviously, I'm not asking you to number it in order, but what do you reckon in general? What's your gut say?
You know what, like, and I think that January is key. Well, it's key for all of us. But when I talk about Man United, now if the board invests and Ragnick proves his reputation is correct in ability to find players, Man United can really get themselves leading that top 4 race and favourites. That's where it comes down to. Is critical. So what he's got to work with now is well not in the race. But if he does what people say he can do, yeah, I see you guys on it. It's going to be very interesting. We've got Norwich, Leeds, then Watford. All winnable games, right? Very winnable. And look, you can't take them for granted. But if we come out of them games looking very sharp, we could be a few points clear and people look at things differently.
North London derby as well, isn't it?
What's that?
North London derby is the next game as well. So
yeah, so exactly. So you got them teams. One of them teams is going to drop points. We could really come out of January being in a very strong position with some players that is going to really help kick us on. With other players coming back from injury, after January is everything. So I'm looking at West Ham and Man United big time for the transfers. If we can get out, both teams get it right, start pick up points, we could be up there. But you can't discount Conte. They've promised him money. He needs to spend that wisely. If he does,
Conte part 1. Here we go.
Yeah, but he's made some. He's spent some money and he's made some dud signings in the past. January is not an easy month, is it, to spend money? So it's going to be tough. But I agree with Kish. If I was at this time, and I hate to say it, but if you go now, Spurs are the favourites as things stand.
I'm going to pass it to you, Kel, but I actually think, and again, this is going to be the most ridiculous comment you've heard all stream, but I think it might not get DM, we 100% get top 4. Like
100%.
Yeah, no, honestly, because I know we are shit at the moment, and I know a lot of United fans are basically giving up, and I understand why, and I was pissed off. Like I've had a chance to vent and whatnot, but having watched us play so poorly for so long, and again, I'm not saying all of our problems will be solved, but so much of our issues are down to the fact that we haven't got a specialist.
But do you think you're getting this window though?
To be honest, that's the problem, but that's not for me to find him. Randy, find someone that's a quality. Sorry, let me rephrase this. If we get a DM that actually comes and fucking plays well, actually does a good enough job that Matic doesn't have to start, because I can't see Matic play because he's too old. He can't play.
It has to be a gem, Usman, because there's no way I don't think in January you've got a Declan Rice or a Tielemans or any of them.
That's the only way, because with this midfield, man, we ain't got a chance with this midfield.
If you don't go for Frankie Kessie, you're messing up.
I mean, yeah, it would make.
I think he's destined for Tottenham. I think Kessie's destined for Tottenham. There's been so many sources of him going, and with the Patrici connections, if we don't get Kessie, I will be shocked. Massively shocked.
But teams have come in and listen, Man United can swoop in and
we need to get.
He's Conte's #1 target, so we'll see what happens with that.
I mean, Conte's got links in Italy, so I won't be surprised in it. But Kane, last but not least, what are your thoughts? What do you reckon? So we've got me currently saying Spurs. Kish, I mean, I said it last week. Kisha said it. Lawless has somewhat said it. Where do you sit?
I'm never backing Spurs to get top 4. So
listen, I'm not backing them to get it. I'm just saying, as it is now, they're the favourites. The pressure is on them. The expectations on them. Okay. I'm not saying they're getting it. Okay. I'm saying, on paper, they're favourites. That's what I'm saying. I need to clarify that.
All right, cool.
Listen, I'm not backing
on my paper, just airbrush it quickly. I'll never say Spurs are getting top 4. So I'll say Arsenal. I think what a lot of people are discrediting is Arteta's form once it after January. I mean, yes, we lost to Manchester City, but once again, like I said before, there's no shame in losing to Manchester City, especially the way that we played them. Once January hits, that's when he starts to really kick into form, and you see that's when you see Arsenal rise up in the form table. I think for the past 2 seasons, the only team better than us on form are Manchester City. So if we can somehow manage to continue that, which I don't see why we couldn't, because we've done it for the past 2 seasons. I think we can easily get. I think we could not get easily out of it. I think we can get top 4, especially if we have a decent January. There's a lot of teams that are saying they're going to have a decent January, but honestly, if I think we get Isak, and if I think we get Renato Sanchez.
I need you to change your language there, because you said we can get top 4. We can all get top 4, but you're saying. You
need to be a bit more specific, because any of our teams here, which is quite funny, it's quite the panel is quite perfect for the topic. Any of our teams realistically can get top 4, because we're actually only 4 points off you.
Yeah,
fuck the game in hand, but we're 4 points off you, and
we
know how.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
It could potentially be 1. Or it could potentially be 2. Who knows? Yeah, it could be 3. Whatever. It could still be 4. But
Spurs haven't got European football either now.
Yeah,
as well.
But here's the thing: you have no shame in saying Spurs. Obviously, Kish will have no shame in saying Spurs are favourites. Dan, yeah, I'm honestly shocked that you said Spurs are favourites.
Listen,
but
it's
I can't say Spurs, man. Kish,
they're the favourites. They're not. I'm not saying they're getting it. Yeah. We know they bottle everything.
You can't say kind. You can't say kind.
All right, I'm going to say this.
I'm saying we will.
I'm saying this based on players. Man United are favourites.
I mean, for me personally, we need you lot to be shit basically for a while, because we're so far behind in terms of.
Have you got European football though? Are you still in?
We're going to be kicked out in a few weeks.
I mean that's going to be interesting, but like I said, Conte is a good manager. They've got a group of players. I think they're not like Spurs. Don't got the best 11. Going and there's certain players at weak spots, but they're a team.
It's content, though, man. That's the thing.
Yeah, Eric Dyer and Sanchez. Have you seen them recently? They're literally. I don't even know.
You said this under Jose, man. Please don't say this shit again.
Like I just feel like
Kish, don't make me dig it out.
They're players that know each other well. They're a cohesive unit. I feel like Conte can get something out of them, but I can back my team. Kretinsky is going to come in and spend money, but it all depends, obviously, like I said, Europa League. Listen, I said this today, my ideal scenario is, and this, hear me out, Spurs get 4th. West Ham gets 5th.
It doesn't work like that anymore.
Well, no, what do you mean?
If you win the Europa League and Spurs get 4th, Spurs still get Champions League.
Yeah, I know they still get Champions League, but what I'm saying is, so they get 4th, we get 5th. Spurs fans are giving it to us, going, we finished above you, we got Champions League, we win Europa League. Yeah. We're like, well done. We got the trophy. Have
Oh,
your
okay.
have your full place trophy. We're in the Champions
He's
League.
got a big game tomorrow as well. Conte against Chelsea in the League Cup. That'd be interesting.
I mean, or you go to the final and completely battling Spurs finish above you. So
I mean, it's Conte. I don't see him bottling that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was it. I think that was aimed at me. I think that was aimed at me. It's about us bottling the Europa League final.
Listen, it is where it is. But look, we're going to wrap it there because we could probably go on for ages, to be quite frank honest with you.
West Ham.
You've heard it here first. Obviously, West Ham coming forward, and myself and Kitch have said Spurs are the favourites, and Kale said Arsenal. Fair enough. It is what it is. It should be my night, but we're fucking shit, so we're probably going to bottle it now, which is an absolute embarrassment, which was, of course, the tale of today's story. I mean, it's been a good opportunity for me to vent. I do feel somewhat better. As soon as I go back on Twitter, I'm going to feel like shit again, so I'm just going to avoid that. So don't even bother tweeting me because I'm not going to see it until at least tomorrow morning. Just to say a massive thank you to everyone that's viewed this. Obviously, it's a bit longer than we normally do, but obviously, if you haven't already, slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Next week's show, we're going to have a little bit of a special. I know there's a couple of cup games. I don't actually know if we can do it next week. It might be Tuesday, we'll see. But if we do, it's going to be a North London derby special. Big game, obviously. Hopefully, Kish and Kayla are available for that one. And obviously, we'll go through that, amongst some of the other fixtures. But listen, it's been your boy, Usman. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Before we go, follow me on Usman Talks United on all socials, obviously here on YouTube. Lolis, we're going to pass it to you first. Let the people know where they can find you, okay?
At the Lawless, of course, on Twitter, West Ham Fan TV, everywhere else, watch alongs, all of that sort of thing. Check out my other channel with my two friends, the Free in Midfield, but it's with the Free in Midfield. We're not called that, trademark, copyright, but it's Dan, Camo, Jace. We've just filmed, and I can safely say the hottest chicken in the night. This ain't even a joke, man. This killed people, and then we put some. Then we put a grand on the line for some subscribers to take on this challenge. So I'm eating that. I'm editing their videos. So do check that out. But Damo and Jace took it on first, the chicken, and I was shocked. So look out for that.
Okay. Shout out
Cahill, there's some left. I can bring it round to you if you want.
Please do, man. I'm always here for the chicken. Kojo's there, man. Kojo's there, though.
Wait, listen, both of you can try it.
Absolutely. I'm doing it. Bring it, bro. But anyway, yeah, Free in Midfield on YouTube. We'll talk, absolutely. Free in Midfield, YouTube, Twitter, SoundCloud, all the socials. There we go.
So yeah, lads. So obviously that was Three in Midfield. I don't know if he's quite fan or not, but it was for me.
Was I? Oh shit, sorry.
Yeah. But Three in Midfield, Spotify, SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure you show love to the homies. Obviously support them and obviously support Lawless as well. But last but not least, Kish, tell the people where to find you.
Yeah, all socials at Kishindu, and also just a quick message. Let's get Usman to 1.3k. We're very close. So please like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and let's get there as soon as we can.
Yes, you'd love to see it. I was just going to banter Kish on what's on his wall behind him, but now he said that I can't. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Gareth Bale and Human Son.
Yeah, it's Human Son. Yes, you have seen that correctly on a wall with Ronaldo and Messi. Yes, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. But anyways, as Kish said, subscribe to the channel. Obviously, we are here every Monday doing the Round Fun podcast, but in general, Mind Up podcast during the week. It's going to be a peak one, to be honest. But probably back tomorrow at 7 o'clock, if not Wednesday, one of the 2 days, basically. I'm back doing a podcast. So make sure you get your notifications on. Probably going to be me ranting, to be quite frankly honest with you. There's a lot to dissect. Don't really want to do it, but I have to. So back tomorrow or Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. Apart from that, it's been your boys. Well, thank you.